Hello, I'm Dolph, and welcome to the 1 Hour Ironman. For the last 15 weeks, I've been playing old school RuneScape under a strict 1 hour per day time limit. Every single day the timer starts, I get exactly 1 hour to make progress, and then I log out. No exceptions. Over the last 105 days, that's turned into one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on. Starting from Tutorial Island with absolutely nothing, we've fought through skilling grinds, we've survived more than a few quest disasters, we've chased after clue scrolls, we've taken down bosses, and somehow we've managed to drag this little Iron Man way further than I ever expected. And today, we're putting it all together. If you've never seen the series before, this is the perfect place to jump in. If you end up enjoying the journey, there's a new episode every single Sunday as we keep pushing the account forward. So without further ado, grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's see what 1 hour a day can actually do. And we'll start day one with the cook's assistant, a classic first quest. After running around Lumbridge to collect a few ingredients, that'll be our first quest complete, and a few early cooking levels in the books. With cook's assistant done, that leaves sheep shearer up next. Fred the farmer needs our help to shear all of his sheep and spin the wool. After a brief run-in with the thing in Fred's field, we're off to do a little crafting, and our second quest will wrap up with a few bonus crafting levels. With a couple of early Lumbridge area quests out of the way, we finish up day one with a classic. It's time to kill some chickens for some combat training, grab some feathers, and pick up our first few ever combat levels. Let's see how we get on. Not bad for the first hour. To start day two, we grab our free set of Ironman armor from the tutor in Lumbridge, finally looking like a real Iron Man. And time for our first real adventure with the Restless Ghost quest. After chatting with the clergy around Lumbridge, we'll make a trip over to the Wizard's Tower, and eventually reunite the ghost with his skull to earn a huge early prayer XP boost. It's incredibly valuable on any account, and an awesome start for us here. Love to see those early prayer levels. From there, we're over to Draenor Village for rooftop agility. Agility is always one of the most important early skills, and training it now means faster run energy regeneration for everything we'll be doing going forward. So far, training agility here is one of my favorite things on this account. Hanging out in Draenor is just so nostalgic and cozy here. With 20 agility out of the way already, we've got a little bit of time left in day two for X marks the spot. It's a short but useful quest that'll unlock clue scroll boxes and access to Great Corrent, which we'll definitely be revisiting later. With just a few minutes left in day two, we've got time for a few chicken kills and even a couple strength levels. Day three starts with Ernest the chicken. Thankfully this time, I have a guide, so I won't have to spend all day lost in the basement puzzle like I did as a kid. I mean, just look how long this is taking, even with a guide, knowing exactly what to do. And with Ernest rescued, we're off to Remington for the Witch's Potion. After killing a couple of rats and grabbing a few other ingredients, we'll get a nice little chunk of magic XP. And a few magic levels. While we're still in the Draenor area here, we are going to run over and get started on our very first ever clue scroll. See what kind of loot we can get there. I would absolutely love to get an elemental staff. I know you can get those from beginner clues. That would save us about 1,500 gold that we would definitely have to spend on one. Alright, and we've got our very first ever clue scroll casket here now. Let's go ahead and see what kind of loot we can get. Oh, we actually got the elemental staff! Nice! And we'll finish up day 3 by working on pushing agility a little bit further. Continuing that grind towards level 30 agility in our next run regeneration boost. Quick look at the day 3 bank. Not too bad, dozen marks of grace so far. And between the agility training at the end of day 3 and now the start of day 4, we finally hit 30 agility. That's going to be a huge quality of life milestone for us. With 30 agility out of the way, we'll go ahead and take on Druidic Ritual next. It's a pretty quick quest, but definitely an important one for us, as it's going to unlock the Herblore skill for us to train. And with the XP lamp we've been holding since X marks the spot, we'll grab a few bonus levels. And also get started on our very first farming run. With our playtime restriction, it's going to be very important to keep up with going forward. And just mix in a few fishing levels while we finish out the day. Start day 5 with one more fishing level just to unlock rod and bait fishing. But the real focus for day 5 is all on the Pandemonium quest and unlocking the new sailing skill. After getting hired to salvage a shipwreck by Anne and Will, we're betrayed, thrown overboard, and left to wash up on the new island of Pandemonium, where we learn all about the cursed medallion we just helped our former colleagues fish up. After being sent to fetch some cargo from Port Sarim, we'll go ahead and end the quest with our very own raft called the Fatal Anchor, and access the entirely new sailing skill. With the quest complete and sailing unlocked, I decided I was having so much fun sailing, we'd spend most of the rest of the hour just sailing around, charting a few landmarks, completing some port tasks, and even making our first delivery over to Karamja. And we hit 11 sailing for our troubles too. We wrap up our last little bit of day 5 to get a start on mining in the new cave on Pandemonium. It's a great place for us to start on these early mining levels. It's got copper, tin, and iron for us to get started, plus a bank chest just outside. We'll start off day 6 with a little bit more mining. Just go ahead and push to 15 mining so we can mine iron ore and so we can get a start on Doric's quest next. Quick detour for a farming run. And a farming level. Alright, we'll go ahead and chat with Doric, finish the quest, and gain access to his oh-so-conveniently placed anvils. More importantly, get us a few extra mining levels. And with our last bit of the hour, we'll go ahead and just smelt and smith everything we mined and get a jump start on some smithing. And for day 7, we'll start with our first big challenge of the week. We're going to go ahead and make a dash through the stronghold of security. Especially early on, this place is dangerous. Making it through all 4 floors, if we survive, will net us 10k coins and a nice boot upgrade. It's a huge boost for a new Ironman account. And of course, we're going to go with the fancy boots. And all of that cash is immediately going towards some gear upgrades. Better armor, more runes, and some new arrows to finally get started on taking combat more seriously. And just a quick look at all of our upgrades and us decked out in our new steel equipment. Squeeze in another quick farming run while we're already nearby. And a new farming level. With a little bit of time left in day 7, I decided we should try out our new combat equipment on the imps near Falador. To my great surprise, we actually got all 4 of the beads we need for Imp Catcher, so we'll go ahead and turn that in real quick. That's our last quest complete for week 1, and a nice little amulet upgrade as well. Couple magic levels to boot. Just a quick peek at the final bank and the final stats for week 1. After 7 hours of gameplay, we've already made some huge progress. We pushed agility to 30, unlocked 2 new skills with Herblore and Sailing, completed multiple quests, and built a solid foundation for combat training going forward. Next week, it's time to start taking on some real enemies, starting with Vampire Slayer, and finally put all this preparation to use. If you guys have enjoyed the series so far, consider subscribing to follow the journey, 1 hour at a time. Day 8 is all about combat in preparation for Vampire Slayer. Killing cows may not be the most glamorous way to train, but it's perfect for us. They give us combat XP, hides for crafting, and bones for prayer all in one place. And with 20 strength, we're going to be hitting a little bit harder now. That's always welcome. A few defense and hit points levels will absolutely help with our survivability too. Day 9 is our first real test. Vampire Slayer is a simple early quest, right? Unless you're an Ironman with a bunch of terrible food and low-level stats. Well, wish me luck. And naturally, when we get to Varrock, the solution to the quest is to get the NPC drunk. Classic RuneScape problem solving here. And with Count Draenor defeated, we're rewarded with a nice lump of attack XP, a jump straight to 22 attack level, Mithril weaponry unlocked once we can afford it. And with plenty of time left in Day 9, we head straight back to the Cows in Lumbridge to hit 20 defense and round out our base 20 melee stats. Again, I know fighting cows isn't the most glamorous way to train, but It's just so nostalgic to train here in Lumbridge for a little while it's still viable for us, and we need the hides for crafting anyway. And before logging out, we'll just tan all of the hides for crafting. Speaking of crafting, that's where we're going to start here on day 10. These early crafting levels are exciting. They are going to unlock us our first set of ranged combat gear, but more importantly, it sets us up to be able to craft our first teleport jewelry in the future. We need to get our hands on some sapphires. Crafting can also be a great way to make some money on Ironman accounts. Next, we're over to Lumbridge to start our life of crime. Starting with pickpocketing men to get our first few levels. Quick farming run detour. That's 9 farming, a huge milestone as it unlocks our ability to do our first herb runs. And then we're off to Artie to complete our first diary task and continue on our life of crime. Cake stalls are a great early food source. They also double as a decent thieving training method. "15 thieving sets us up to be able to pickpocket ham members for the rusty sword we need for the Artie diary. We start day 11 with a quick farming run and our first at the Artie patches. Day 11 is mostly prep for quests in the Artie Easy diary. We grab a bunch of quest items we'll need, and then it's back to Lumbridge. We'll get the stuffing beaten out of us first, and eventually get the rusty sword that we need to complete the Artie Easy diary. Over in El Carid, we find Old School's most overpowered moneymaker. We can buy his silk for 3 GP and later sell it for 60. Rune Mysteries is up next. Not because I particularly want to do the quest, but because the Artie Easy diary says we have to. And that's runecrafting unlocked, which I will promptly not train. Just a few more quest items we need to collect for later. And with 25 thieving, we unlock fruit stalls for future training, and we end with a decent stack of food. 600 coins may not seem like a lot, but when you're a broke Ironman, it'll do. With just a couple minutes left, we finish up with a bit of woodcutting. Wasted time is the biggest enemy of the series, so we might as well gain a bit of XP for our last couple minutes. And this is where everything goes wrong. Due to a recording issue, I lost all footage from day 12. But instead of pretending that it didn't happen or trying to re-record anything, I'm just going to show you guys exactly what I accomplished on day 12, and we'll move on from there. Plague City was first, where we helped rescue Elena from Western Artie. And then Biohazard, where we discovered the hoax that was the plague. We also completed 8 more easy achievement diary tasks, putting us to 9 out of 10. We start day 13 with a bit of fishing, our last prerequisite to finish the easy Artie diary. We need 15 fishing to be able to go out on the fishing trawler for our final task. There we go. And we'll stick around to fill the inventory and cook all the fish. And out onto the fishing trawler. With all of that done, the Easy Arty Diary is officially complete. And the cape is ours! We'll drop the XP lamp on agility, just because it's my only skill over level 30. And then we'll take on the Monk's Friend quest. It's a quick and easy quest right around the Arty area where we help one of the monks throw a birthday party. Oh baby, time to party. And we're rewarded with a bit of woodcutting XP and some woodcutting levels. Those woodcutting levels are nice. Unlocking the canoes is a pretty good way to get around. Day 14 is where everything we've done this week pays off. Fight Arena has 4 big fights ahead for us, but not before we fall back on the old RuneScape classic of getting somebody drunk. And we'll break Sammy out of jail and go rescue his dad from the arena, but not before having to take on the ogre and all of the other minions ourselves. The reward for defeating General Khazard and rescuing Sammy and his dad here is huge. We get a massive amount of attack XP, some nice thieving XP. Jumps us right up to 33 attack and 28 thieving. Quick farming run detour, this time at our 3rd allotment patch over in Catherby. Then it's time for fishing contest. We have to go over to Hemminster, win ourselves a fishing contest against a totally not suspicious, definitely not a vampire. And we'll return the gold to the dwarf, typical dwarf stuff, get ourselves some nice fishing XP. With our last bit of day 14, we head back to Varrock to work on a bit more agility. It's always good to keep working on improving our run regeneration and getting more marks of grace. Bank for the end of week 2. And our progress since week 1. And day 15, we're going to be spending our time training some agility on the Varrock rooftop course. Fortunately, these early levels still come pretty quick. It's not the most exciting thing to be doing, but I try to make sure that we're keeping up with our agility training as we're progressing each week. Want to make sure we're getting our run regen up, and as our world gets bigger every week, it's going to get more and more important that we're able to move around efficiently and not waste half of our time just traveling. Quick peek at the bank to end the first day, getting a nice little stack of marks of grace going. Day 16, we'll start off with a little bit more rooftop agility. We're just going to go for level 40 since you only get the run regen increase on every 10th level. And with 40 agility done, we'll move on to a few more quests around the Varrock area. But first, we're going to go ahead and take care of the natural history quiz downstairs in the Varrock Museum. This nets you a nice bit of early XP for a couple skills. 1000 XP for Slayer and Hunter each. And next up, we'll take on the Romeo and Juliet quest. We'll help the two star-crossed lovers deliver messages back and forth. We'll consult Father Lawrence, who sends us to gather some cadaver berries to make a potion to fake Juliet's death, which is apparently the solution to the problem. Unfortunately, Romeo forgot the plan and instead runs away with Juliet's cousin, but, well, we get the quest points either way. And then we'll help Juliet's neighbor Gertrude find her lost cat. After getting extorted by her children for 100 coins to tell us where the cat's hiding, we'll try and bribe the cat with some milk and sardines. We'll rescue its kitten and get it to head off home. And quest complete, we're rewarded with a bit of cooking XP and a pet kitten of our own. Day 17, we'll take on a few more difficult quests, starting with Rag and Bone Man 1. We'll spend a little time running around Gillinor, killing a few monsters for their bone specimens for the odd old man. And make a quick little farming detour with a farming level up. Of course, it's not enough that we ran around and got all these bones. We have to soak them in vinegar and process them for him, too. But we're rewarded with a little bit of cooking and prayer XP. Prayer level up is always worth the effort. Next up is Demon Slayer. We're tasked with following in the footsteps of the hero Wally, who killed the demon Delrith. To kill Delrith, we need Silverlight, the magical sword, but it's locked behind 3 keys. We can get 1 from the guard captain Rovin. We can recover 1 from the sewer under Varrock. And we can give 25 bones to the wizard Triborn to get the last one. Once all the keys are recovered, we're able to get the sword back from Sir Prison. Day 18, we'll gear up with all of our combat equipment and Silverlight to go take on the demon Delrith. Bring with a nice inventory of food and resources. And then we take him down in 2 hits without needing to use any food. But I guess it's always better to be over-prepared. And that's Demon Slayer complete. Next, we'll do Priest in Peril. We're tasked by the King of Varrock to head over and check in on Drizel at Paterdomus Temple. Somebody inside told us to go down here and kill this dog, so that's exactly what we do. Except the King's not so happy about it. Turns out that dog was supposed to be protecting Varrock from vampires coming over the river. We'll find the key we need to rescue Drizel, and bring him all of the rune essence he asked for. Quest complete, and we're rewarded with some nice prayer XP. With Priest in Peril complete, we have access to Mauritania, and therefore the Canifis Agility course. We're here, so we might as well just finish the hour out by grabbing an agility level, and working a little bit towards the next one. Quick look at the bank here on day 18. I decided since we're already here, we're going to start day 19 by just quickly finishing off level 42 agility. With 42 agility done, we'll take a quick little break for a farming run and then move on to start Waterfall Quest. Houdan here tells us about a hidden treasure that we can find. To find it, we have to read this book, head over to the maze. We have to recover Glariel's Pebble. as well as the amulet and the urn. And then we have to try and sneak by the fire giants. And that's Waterfall Quest complete. We're rewarded with a nice bit of attack and strength XP. And it gains us a few combat levels. While we were here, I decided to come and take on a few of the fire giants, get a few magic levels. We didn't get a rune scimitar this time, but it's some nice magic XP if nothing else. We end up at 25 magic today. And a nice hit points level up as well. Start off day 20 with just a little more magic training. Might as well use up all of our runes. Now, I said we didn't get a rune scimitar drop, but that's not the only thing these fire giants have to offer. Oh my god, we got the fire battle staff! Holy shit! I cannot believe we got one of the two things we actually wanted from here. Holy cow. That is awesome. And 27 magic, which will let us get Rings of Dueling later. We'll make a quick detour for a farming run and a pickaxe upgrade. And then we're gonna head back to the cave on Pandemonium Island for a little more mining training. Trying to get our smithing up to 15 ultimately is why we're here, hence why we're mining copper and tin instead of iron. And we'll end the day with 29 mining. Day 21, we're going to go full dwarf mode. We'll do a little more mining just to finish off level 30. 30 mining done, and that'll unlock the ability for us to head to Motherlode Mine for future training. Then we'll move on to smelt and eventually smith everything we mined today. That'll get us a few more levels. We're also stacking up some nice loot to be able to sell. 15 mining done, so we can finally get the iron bar we need for the knight's sword. And smith all the extras. We end up at 20 smithing, which unlocks silver for future. We end up selling everything for a nice couple thousand gold profit. And then we'll take on the witch's house quest nearby in Falador. We have to break into the witch's house to try and recover the little boy's ball that he kicked over into her garden. We have to sneak past the witch here, making sure she doesn't see us. Then kill her magical experiment monster in the shed. Because apparently she needs that to guard the ball. It ended up being a bit harder than I remembered, but we still got it done on the first try. Quest complete, we get a nice boost on some hit points XP. Quick look at the week 3 bank there. And the stats to end the week. And start with the clue scrolls. I would love to get any unique from these clues, or ideally any of the trimmed or unique amulet variants that you can get off the beginners. Oh my god! Holy shit! I cannot believe we actually got one of the trimmed amulets. Oh my god. That's so amazing. Pretty exciting loot for our first clue scroll of the week. The second one is a little less exciting, but still some decent loot to sell. And go rob Fred the farmer quick. There's our first easy casket. Oh! Taibo One-Eye teleports and a black pickaxe. That's 2 collection log items. That's not bad. Our last easy clue is going to send us over to Varlamore, so we're going to have to do Children of the Sun first. Do a little bit of quick time stealth, follow the fake guard to infiltrate the bandits. Spy on them quick. Turn them all over to Sergeant Tobin and interrogate their leader. And quest complete, Varlamore unlocked. This is our first step that really requires us to collect any equipment, so we'll definitely have to save that. Oh my goodness! Holy cow! Okay, a black kite shield tee is incredibly cool as a little flex on this account. And an amulet of magic tee is amazing. Oh my god. Quick look at all the loot. We upgraded our magic and defense amulets, our shield, as well as our pickaxe. Day 23, we'll start out trading over our first cat for death runes, getting a new kitten. And we'll sell some clue loot as well as our old pickaxe. Then we'll start the Prince Ali rescue quest over in Al-Kharid. We're tasked with rescuing the Prince of Al-Kharid from his captors over near Draenor. For doing so, we'll be rewarded by removing the toll between Al-Kharid and Lumbridge. Save us a little bit of time and money going forward. Of course, we have to get somebody drunk in order to do all of this. And quest complete. We'll wrap up day 23 doing a bit of range training here on the Lumbridge cows. Level 5 ranged lets us upgrade to an oak shortbow. Should let us increase our damage a little bit. I keep coming back to these cows for our early combat training. It's so nice to be collecting the hides for crafting as we're going. Day 24, we're going to pick up where we left off. No cow is safe from us today. Keep pushing our range training. Today I'm going to try and go for level 20. Prayer level on the way, that's always nice to see. Working towards those overheads slowly but surely. And our 20 ranged goal for the day. We'll go ahead and craft everything. Gotta tan the hides first. Once we get past a few more of these early crafting levels, we'll be able to start using our crafting skill a bit more to our advantage. Start making ourselves some teleport jewelry, as well as some armor upgrades even later on. Speaking of teleport jewelry, that'll let us make a Ring of Dueling later. And make our first sapphire necklace, which will later enchant into our games necklace. And we'll end with just a quick trip to Varrock to get some ranged equipment upgrades. And then we'll kill our last minute or two with a little bit of thieving. Day 25, I decided to make a detour into the wilderness. I wanted to train prayer, so we'll be collecting bones at the boneyard and then taking them over to the Chaos Temple. Sacrificing bones in the Chaos Temple gives us 350% XP compared to just burying the same bones. We'll have to do a bit of world hopping, collect a full inventory, and head on over. Start sacrificing our newly found big bones until we get PK'd before we even manage to get rid of our first bone. Well, that's just the way it goes in the wilderness. We'll go ahead and try again. Collect another inventory of big bones, and hopefully we'll manage to get a few more of these ones put onto the altar. We actually managed to finish this inventory, ending up at 26 prayer. And while we're right next door, we might as well run over to the lava maze, try and collect some steel plate bodies to sell. Get hit by absolutely everything on our way in, and killed by a demon on our way out. So to cool off, we're just going to go ahead and mine some rune essence, just chill out, and wait for our gravestone to reset tomorrow. Fortunately, death is pretty forgiving to noobs like us. We were able to recover all of our steel plate bodies, sold them for about 26k. Then we'll take on the Knight's Sword quest. This one gives us some huge smithing XP. We just have to do a bit of running around, meet Thurgo the Incamdo Dwarf, bribe him with some red berry pie, and he'll help us replace the Squire's missing sword. Turn in the sword, and that'll be quest complete. 12,700 smithing XP jumps us right up to level 32 smithing. While we're already in the castle, we'll head over and start the Black Knight's fortress. We're sent on a super top secret mission to infiltrate the Black Knight's fortress, which requires us to weirdly just throw a cabbage in their magical potion. That ought to thwart their evil plans. We're rewarded with 3 quest points and 2,500 coins. We'll finish off our last bit of time just killing a few guards, because I know they can drop some clue scrolls. Day 27, we'll be taking on a few quests, starting with the recruitment drive here in Falador. We're sent to audition for the Temple Knights, which requires us to complete a series of 5 different puzzles. The puzzles range from logic puzzles to combat trials, a little bit of everything as we go. Once we complete this last puzzle, we're going to be rewarded with quite a bit of nice XP. Most notably for me is that prayer XP. Herblore XP is always nice as well. Next up is Goblin Diplomacy. We'll collect some Goblin Mail, which we have to dye. We'll throw a bit of a Goblin fashion show here. The generals are arguing about the armor color. We end up showing them a few, and they end up deciding to just stick with the brown that they've had all along. I guess we didn't really change anything, but quest complete still gets us 5 quest points. Next up, we'll take on the Corsair Curse. We'll help a group of pirates over in the Corsair Cove deal with a curse. The navigator here tells us all about it. Each of the crew members thinks something they've done has caused the curse, but we end up proving each of them wrong pretty quickly. And it turns out that the navigator actually faked the curse for job security. So I guess we'll try and prove that, and then the only logical solution is to have to kill him. 2 quest points, access to the bank here in Corsair Cove. And finally, we're going to end day 27 here, working on just a bit more range training here in Lumbridge. Always love to see a bonus hit points level. Some survivability always helps. Day 28, we'll be doing a bit more range training. We're shooting for 28 ranged today. We're trying to hit 28 because that's going to let us get a pretty big ranged weapon upgrade next week once we take on the Lost Tribe quest. Bonus hit points level first, but then we'll hit our 28 ranged goal. We've got enough time left, so we might as well head back to Alcarid to go ahead and craft all of the new leather. Switching over to hard leather at level 28 crafting lets us start making a little bit more money and gets us better XP. We end up with 500 total level. And a nice bit of cash for our trouble. Lastly, we're just going to finish up with a little bit of fishing just to kill our last few minutes. We start off day 29 by finally taking on the Lost Tribe quest. We're tasked with investigating a disturbance in the basement of Lumbridge Castle, which leads us to discover an Unknown tribe of goblins living under the city. We find out that this lost tribe is called the Dorgashin tribe of goblins, and we learn a few introductions from the goblins we met earlier during goblin diplomacy. We then go back to negotiate a peace treaty between the people of Lumbridge and the Dorgashin. We foil Sigmund's ham, that's humans against monsters' ambitions, and seal the deal on that peace treaty. With the Lost Tribe complete, we'll be rewarded with a little bit of mining XP, and more importantly, access to buy the bone crossbow and bone bolts. It's a really strong ranged weapon upgrade for us, and we'll pick up a quick helmet upgrade as well. With our range gear sorted, we'll knock out a quick farming run and farming level. Next, we'll work on just a couple of beginner clue scrolls I've had in the bank. Nothing too exciting for loot. Definitely no uniques like we had in the first couple of weeks. But that's okay, we can't be so lucky every time. We wrap up day 29 with a little bit of fly fishing here in Barbarian Village, using up some of those feathers we collected back on day 1, and a quick look at the day 29 bank. Day 30 will start out with taking on a Porcine of Interest quest. We start this quest by responding to a bounty request to take out an unknown monster. We end up finding that it's a sour hog. It almost takes us out, but we're rescued by Spria, the Slayer Master. She ends up giving us a bit of an introduction to the Slayer skill and sends us back to take out the sour hog. With the Sour Hog defeated, we can collect our reward and complete the quest. We're rewarded with 1,000 Slayer XP and our first 30 Slayer reward points. We'll knock out a quick farming run on the way, and then we'll start on our first Slayer task to kill 27 wolves. We'll head over to White Wolf Mountain to get the job done. This is a good opportunity to test out our new bone crossbow that we just unlocked while we work on a few more Slayer levels. Unfortunately, we don't get to earn any reward points on these first few Slayer tasks, but the Slayer XP and range levels that we get along the way are definitely a nice consolation prize. After the wolves, our next task is to take out 25 sour hogs. This is the first time I've ever really killed sour hogs on any account, and for our level, these are actually seeming to give us some decent herb and seed drops. We won't quite manage to finish up the Sour Hog task on day 30, but we hit total level 525 and a nice hit points upgrade at least. Day 31, we start out by focusing on more Slayer training. We hit 18 Slayer on our way to finish out that Sour Hog task we had started the other day. We end up grabbing one more range level as we finish out the task. Quick farming run detour. We grab a level up and actually plant our first ever herb patch. Back to Slayer training, we're assigned cave crawlers. We need to grab ourselves an anti-poison for this task. Fortunately for me, I did happen to have the ingredients sitting in the bank. Unfortunately for me, I was not as good at dodging these guys' poison as I was hoping to, so at least I get rewarded with a couple of nice level ups, because I do end up burning that whole anti-poison on one task. With a little bit of time left to burn here on day 31, I decide to move over to training a little bit of woodcutting and fletching here in Draenor Village nearby. Fletching's going to be a great future money-making method for us, and it's important to keep plugging away on the woodcutting requirement that we need for animal magnetism if we want to do that next week. Day 32's a bit of a mixed bag, but we start out by working on a little more woodcutting and fletching training in Draenor. We'll need 35 woodcutting for animal magnetism, so everything's a step in the right direction. While we're nearby, I decide to take on Pirate's Treasure. We have to smuggle some Karamjan rum back to Redbeard Frank by hiding it in a crate of bananas. We recover the rum, turn it over to Frank, and he rewards us with a key to some buried treasure. We find the treasure buried in the nearby city of Falador. We upset a gardener by digging up his flowers, but that's what you have to do to get 2 quest points around here. Well, we were already in Falador, I decided to burn up our little bit of rune essence on crafting some air runes. Nothing too crazy, but we ended up at rune crafting level 9. I'm definitely glad to be back to training a little bit of Slayer instead of working on my least favorite skill, rune crafting. It is a little bit messed up that we're assigned to kill dwarves, though. I mean, they're sentient. They're basically just short people. With the Slayer task complete, it's time to head over to Sears Village. I decided to go ahead and craft some bowstring, that way we can make a little bit more money off of our fletching. And we'll take a quick look at the midweek bank. Day 33, we start out with just a little bit more crafting and fletching, but the main focus is going to be on questing around the Camelot area here. First up is Murder Mystery. We're headed over to the Sinclair Mansion to search the house and collect some clues. We'll need to get fingerprints off of all the evidence, speak to the poison salesman over in town to discover who bought poison. Everybody did, but Bob's the only one who didn't use his for the stated purpose, so we end up proving that Bob's our killer. Quest complete, we're rewarded with some crafting XP. Next up is Merlin's Crystal. To free Merlin, we have to get Morgan Le Fay to tell us how she trapped him. To undo the magic binding him, we need to collect ourselves a black candle. We have to complete the Lady of the Lakes test in order to get our hands on the magical sword Excalibur. And we have to learn a magical incantation. With all of that done, we can learn the power to free Merlin and complete the quest. Quest complete, 6 quest points and the sword Excalibur. And finally, we'll wrap up with just a little bit more woodcutting. Still working towards that 35 woodcutting requirement we need for animal magnetism. Day 34, our big goal was to finish that 35 woodcutting requirement we need for animal magnetism. 30 woodcutting will let us move on to cutting willows now. There's no better place to cut willow trees than the classic Draenor Bank spot. So much fun hanging out here working on these few levels we need. I spent so much time at the Draenor Willows back in the day. With 35 woodcutting out of the way, we're ready for animal magnetism, except we still have to knock out a 31 prayer requirement, so we're headed back into the wilderness. We don't technically need 31 prayer for the quest, but we do need to get into the monastery to get a holy symbol blessed, so kind of a soft requirement for 31 prayer. Day 35, we're going to continue working on prayer, but unfortunately we fall victim to the skeletons in the boneyard first. So we'll have to hike our way back, collect another load of bones, and then go sacrifice them for our last prayer level. "31 prayer complete. That's our last skill requirement for animal magnetism. Now we just have to collect a few items. But first, a detour to the lava maze. Collecting these steel plate bodies is such a good early moneymaker for us. It's a great way to fund our magic training. We managed to collect most of an inventory of steel plate bodies here and make it most of the way out of the lava maze, but unfortunately, one of the Black Knights took us down as we were almost out. While we're waiting for our gravestone timer, might as well get the holy symbol we're gonna need for the quest. And then we have to run over to Auburn Vale to buy ourselves a mithril axe for the quest. And an adamant axe for ourselves as an upgrade while we're here. And finally, recover our steel plate bodies. It's so nice a death to hold on to those so we're still able to buy our water strike casts. Quick peek at the day 35 bank to end the week. Let's get into week 6. Week 6, we're going to start out with animal magnetism. We've had a few item requirements we've had to deal with for quests before, but animal magnetism's the first one that really stacks on a few skill and item requirements for us. Fortunately, we got most everything else taken care of last week, so we just have to get beaten up by some ham members till we get our polished buttons, and then we can head over to Draenor Manor to start the quest. Make a not-so-quick hop, skip, and a jump over to the Port Phasmatis farm, where we're going to meet Malcolm and Alice. We have to help them communicate to work out their bank pin issues together in order to get our hands on their undead chickens for the quest. Also going to need to grab ourselves some Ecto tokens. We're going to do some worship at the Ectofunctus there. And we've got our chickens in hand, so now we're headed back to go make the magnet. Just a few more steps here, and then we're finally going to have our hands on the Ava's attractor. Have to get a blessed axe to chop down the tree. Decode the plans. And that's quest complete. A few nice lump sums of XP, got some fletching, wood cutting, and slayer levels there. Most important, however, is of course the Ava's attractor. Ava's magical device recovers 60% of the ammunition we fire with ranged combat methods, so it's going to be a huge resource saver for us. With animal magnetism complete and Ava's attractor on our back, we'll just finish out the hour with a little fletching and close the day with a quick look at the bank. Day 37, we'll be headed back into Mauritania, but not before we get our hands on a silver sickle that we'll need to be able to start the Nature Spirit quest. This quest takes place in the Mortmire Swamp, where the ghost of the druid Philemon Tarlock needs our help to restore his spirit to peace. To do so, we'll have to solve Philemon's puzzle/ritual, and then get our hands on a blessed sickle using the sickle we made before the quest. And lastly, collect some magical fungi in the swamp, and eventually take on 3 ghasts in combat. Alright, with the 3rd ghast down, that's quest complete. 2 quest points and some really nice XP. Crafting level up. Nice hit points and defense level ups as well. With about half of day 37 left, we'll head over to the Canifis Rooftop Agility course. We've been neglecting our agility in the last week or two, so it's time we get back out here, grab another level. I love how much faster this course is than some of the others. At least in terms of marks of grace, if not XP. Day 38 started out with another session on the Canifis Agility Rooftop course. Gonna keep working on finishing off level 44 from yesterday. And it just feels wrong to leave it at 44, so stick around for one more level. Knock out 45 agility there. Then we'll make a quick detour to trade in our cat for 200 more death runes. Gotta keep building the stack. And then we'll grab the items we're gonna need for the Death Plateau quest. Plus we'll make ourselves a quick little Sapphire Games necklace so we have easy transport to and from Berthorpe. Detour over to the Rogue's Den, where we're going to grab our first piece of the Graceful outfit, the Graceful Hood. Each piece of the Graceful outfit reduces your weight and increases your run energy regen, so it's going to be a huge upgrade for us whenever we can get our hands on a piece of Graceful. With that out of the way, it's time to finally get started on the Death Plateau quest. We're tasked with helping the Imperial Guard here in Berthorpe with 2 separate tasks. First, we have to recover the password for the armory from Harold here by getting him drunk in typical old school RuneScape fashion. And now that we've got the passcode, we can go ahead, solve the weird little ball puzzle to unlock the armory. And then carry on with our second task of discovering a secret route up to the Death Plateau where the trolls are hiding. We'll need to bring Tenzig his spiked boots as well as some supplies for the winter. And then we can share his secret route with the Imperial Guard to complete the quest. 3000 attack XP brings us to level 40, unlocking the ability to wield rune weaponry going forward. We also unlock the climbing boots, a really nice footwear upgrade that gives us +2 melee strength. Day 39, we run over to Wizard's Tower for a quick magic gear upgrade, the blue robe top. Or at least that's how it was supposed to go. Kill a few wizards for a 1 in 18 drop, then move on to some magic training. Unfortunately, it's not quite what I experienced. But on the bright side, we do grab a few nice range levels along the way here. .37 ranged. And a nice prayer level up as well. Oh my god, there it is. We're finally done. Fortunately, we secured our robe top upgrade, even if it did take us 5 times drop rate with 93 kills. Next up, we're headed over to the Waterfall Dungeon to fight the fire giants there. We'll be using Water Strike to take advantage of their elemental weakness so we can do double damage. And these guys do provide some nice combat training along the way, mostly on our magic, but the real thing we're after here is going to be that Rune Scimitar drop at a 1 in 128 rarity. Unfortunately, no Rune Scimitar drop today, but we did get some nice magic XP, so I can't complain too much. Quick look at the midweek bank. Day 40, we're back in the Waterfall Dungeon, loaded up on Water Strikes and hunting for our Rune Scimitar again. Grab a nice hit points level up along the way. Always love some more survivability for all of our training. Keep working on the magic XP as well. Now, we saw in the Fire Giant drop table that they have 2 weapons at a 1 in 128 rarity. The Rune Scimitar, which is what we're looking for, and the Fire Battle Staff, which if you'll remember, we actually already picked one up on our first trip to the Fire Giants. So, we're hoping really just to see that Rune Scimitar drop, not another one of the Battle Staves, but ultimately, can't complain too much about getting a nice drop. We can always sell those staves for a little bit of money too. And just like I had said, we actually do see another Fire Battle Staff today. So, like we said, it's another 1 in 128, but we'll soldier on tomorrow. We're now a day and a half in to the 1-hour Ironman grind for a Rune Scimitar here at the Fire Giants, but we're not giving up hope yet. We'll just keep taking in our magic and our prayer XP as we go, grab a little hit points along the way too, that's always nice. Big bones from these Fire Giants are definitely a step up for our prayer training when it comes to comparing to those cows we started on and the Slayer monsters we were doing before. What's that? A 1 in 128 drop? It couldn't possibly be a 3rd Fire Battle Staff, could it? Oh, wait, it is. Well, I guess we'll just keep plugging along, working towards that Rune Scimitar drop, hopefully. Well, we didn't have any luck on day 41 with the Rune Scimitar hunt, so we're back on day 42. Gonna use up our last 300 or so casts of Water Strike for the day. Even if we don't end up with our Rune Scimitar drop this week, it's definitely a really nice foundation we're building here for our magic level going forward. Those Erd drops we're seeing from the Fire Giants aren't so bad either. Every bit of Herblore XP we can bank up now is going to help us out later. With our Water Strikes depleted, I decided to head over and take on the Misthalin Mystery quest. This is a short investigation-style detective quest that takes place in a mansion that looks suspiciously like the Draenor Manor, but apparently is on an instanced island somewhere in the Gielinor Seas. We'll watch the legally distinct serial killer that's definitely not based on the guy from Scream, take out a few more victims, solve a couple of puzzles, and watch a few cutscenes. All of the little puzzles we've completed and keys we've found have led us deeper into the mansion where we finally take out the killer. We discover it's Abigail and Huey, the couple that actually gave us the quest. With them defeated, that's Mistle and Mystery complete. And we'll move on to grab a quick little upgrade to finish out the week. I figured if we couldn't get our hands on a rune scimitar, what better thing to substitute than an adamant scimitar? Makes for a decent consolation prize to end the week. Take a peek at the week 6 stats, with the big highlight being the 19 magic levels we gained. And a look at the bank to end the week. We kicked off the hour on day 43, finishing our Bear Slayer task that we had started last week. Nothing too crazy, but a little Slayer XP is always nice, and it's a nice little combat warm-up for what's going to come next. Alright, with our Slayer task done, we're going to be headed back over to Lumbridge now to start the new Ides of Milk quest. In this quest, we have to help Cassius learn the Groats' secrets of animal husbandry. Of course, those are naturally to keep your animals happy, don't get too greedy, and commit tax fraud? We'll relay what we've learned to Cassius and try some very sketchy milk. Then we have to head over to Duke Horatio to try and get a permit, but he sends us to talk to the Groats family. Apparently they have a legal monopoly on milk, but they're willing to give us a permit if we take out this aggressive bull Brutus that's in their field. Alright, that's Brutus down. Once we get Cassius up to speed, that's quest complete. We have access to fight the Brutus boss in the future, and the new Cowbell Amulet. The amulet's pretty awesome. If we charge it with air runes, it gives us cheap teleports to the Lumbridge cow pen. We also grab a lamp that rewards us with 1,000 combat XP of our choice. Of course, we're going to go with prayer. And now that we have access to Brutus, of course we're going to go take him on a few times. So he's got a couple of special attacks, one where he rears up and hits the ground around him in an AoE, and another where he does a charge attack. Other than that, if you can dodge those, he's really easy to beat. I was actually having a lot of fun fighting Brutus, so I decided to just keep at it for a good chunk of the hour. And then I noticed we didn't have a pet kitten, so I had to go correct that. Of course, we've got to keep training our next stack of 200 death runes. We've got to always be building that stack. Hardly a world record, but new 40-second Brutus personal record. And with a quick peek at the day 43 bank there. Brutus has a couple of unique new drops. He's got a 1 in 1,000 chance to unlock the Beef Pet, a 1 in 30 chance at the new Muletta, which is basically a steel defender, the Bottomless Milk Bucket, and cosmetic slippers available, so it's definitely worth our time to keep killing him for a while, so that's what we'll be doing today on hour 44. $25 defense. Oh my god! Oh, hell yeah! That's the defender! As you saw, we got our Muletta at 34 KC, which I'll admit at the time I didn't know was right on drop rate, but it was soon followed by 2 more, and a Bottomless Milk Bucket drop. Then I got a notification that I would have received another clue scroll if I didn't already have too many in the bank, so gonna detour to knock those out. Oh, Rune Sim Ornament Kit. That's cool. Now I really want to get that Rune Scimitar. Another casket, alright. Okay, nothing crazy, just some steel. Can't argue with that though, that's a little bit of money for sure. Then we'll try out that handy new Cowbell Amulet teleport to make our way back over to Brutus. We'll finish out the rest of the hour with just a few more Brutus kills. No super crazy loot, but that's okay. We end the hour with 53 kills on Brutus. Day 45, we'll be taking a bit of a break from Brutus. We're actually going to start the hour by grabbing the items we're going to need for the Elemental Shield quest. Make a quick farming run detour on our way, grab level 16. Then head over to Seer's Village to start the quest. It's a pretty simple one. We learn a bit of lore about the Elemental Workshop that was created early in the 5th Age. Then we have to run around the workshop and repair a bunch of different facilities. The place is basically a giant forge that was used for crafting elemental equipment. And with the quest complete, we're rewarded with a bit of XP, an elemental shield, and the ability to craft a replacement if we ever lose ours. We grab a couple of level ups from the quest XP, which actually enables a nice ranged upgrade with the coif. Take a look at our new shield there. And since the new elemental shield is our best in slot ranged shield, of course we're going to have to head over to test our luck at the Fire Giant Casino, see if we can't get lucky on a Rune Scimitar drop to go with that ornament kit we earned. And even if we don't get lucky on the drops, at least some hit points and prayer levels always make it worth our time. The magic XP from all these water strikes isn't too bad, but it could definitely be better. In the future, we're going to have to save up some more GP so we can get our hands on a bunch of Chaos Runes, upgrade ourselves to Water Bolt to speed things up. End day 45 with a quick look at the midweek bank. Day 46, we're back at the Fire Giants, trying our luck for that Rune Scimitar, but unfortunately today we're suffering from what I'm calling the Battle Staff Curse. But we'll get into that a bit later. For now, at least we're having fun killing some Fire Giants and getting some good magic XP in the meantime. God damn it. Another Fire Battle Staff. Now, if you didn't catch it last time when we were fighting these guys, the reason I don't sound so excited is because they have two 1 in 128 drops there. As you saw, they dropped the Fire Battle Staff and the Rune Scimitar at the same drop rate. And that's our 4th Fire Battle Staff. Oh my god, another Fire Battle Staff? Are you serious? And make that our 5th Fire Battle Staff. That one definitely stings, but at least we can sell those for some decent GP. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling a bit demoralized by this point, but we decided to stick it out and just finish the hour on a few more Fire Giant kills. Switching gears a little bit, we'll spend way too long collecting dyes from Aggie here in Draenor Village. Then we'll make another trip over to Mauritania so we can take on a new quest. But first we have to process some bones here at the Ectofuntus, so that way we've got some Ecto tokens for Ghosts Ahoy. And then we can get started on the quest. We have to run back and forth between Valerina and Necrovirus a few times, and then head over to talk to the old crone that we met when we did Animal Magnetism. Fight a weird giant lobster that's apparently living in this chest that's significantly smaller than the lobster was. Recover a piece of a map. Find the other pieces of the map as we go through and restore the little toy ship for the old crone's son. And that map will tell us where to find Necrovirus's book that we need for the ritual for the old crone. Now we just need a translation manual for the book. We have to beat Robin in 4 games of Rune Draw, but unfortunately he managed to beat me 11 times before I got that done to get the translation manual. Day 48, we start our career in political activism as we work on finishing up Ghosts Ahoy. We have to collect 10 petition signatures to try and convince Necrovirus to let the departed ghosts living in town pass on to the next life. Unfortunately, he refuses, but he does drop the key that we need to get our hands on his robes, which was really what we were after. It was the last ingredient for the ritual. Now we can force him to let them pass on. And quest complete for 2400 prayer XP. Lets us jump right up to level 36. Of course, the big highlight is the Ectophile. Gives us free unlimited teleports to the Ectofuntus from now on. Since we were already here in Mauritania, I decided to run over to Canifis. Might as well work on our agility level a little bit here. Level 46. Unfortunately, the levels are starting to slow down as we're getting closer to level 50, but on the bright side, this course is still a great source of marks of grace. We end up with 15 just today. Day 49, I decided to just start out by finishing up level 47 agility. It ended up literally just taking us one lap to finish it. There we go. With 47 agility done, our cat fully grown, we'll go ahead and trade him in for 200 death runes, pick up a new kitten, then run over to start Below Ice Mountain. This is a bit of a heist quest, where we're convinced by Willow to assemble a band of, well, bandits for her, under the guise that we've been told that we're assembling a group of archaeologists. We have to recruit somebody from Barbarian Village by showing our strength to them. Our next recruitee can be found hanging out in a graveyard, which is a bit weird, but we only need to make him a steak sandwich, so at least that's not too hard. And the dwarf, the explosives expert, just requires us to beat him in a game of rock, paper, scissors, but in typical RuneScape fashion, he's drunk enough that it doesn't really matter what we do. Alright, so the team broke us into the dungeon here, but we're immediately scared off when they saw the golem. We just have to mine these 4 columns and he'll die, and that'll be quest complete. We're rewarded with 2,000 coins and access to the ruins of Camdozal, where I decide to spend the rest of the hour just training my fishing. And then close out the hour with a look at the Day 49 bank. And our stats, how they've grown throughout the week. Nothing too crazy, but we did manage to hit 40 attack and strength, which is definitely a nice baseline for our melee combat. We kick off the week with Shield of Arav, one of our last remaining free-to-play quests. In this quest, we're tasked with hunting down a missing artifact for the King of Varak, the Shield of Arav. It's been stolen by 2 different criminal gangs in the city, so we have to infiltrate one and find a partner to infiltrate the other. Fortunately for me, I do have another Ironman account that still needs to complete the quest, so that makes things easy. We just go and collect the certificate from our alternate account and from the curator at the museum, can turn them into the king, and that'll be quest complete. No big XP rewards from this one, but that's okay. The important part is that we only have Dragon Slayer to go to complete free-to-play. With Dragon Slayer in our sights, everything we do this week is going to be focused on that goal. I've got a few things I want to knock out first, so that we're better prepared for the quest, with the first on the list being an upgrade to our food source. Right now, our best food is either salmon or cooked T-bone steaks, which both heal 9 HP. Upgrading to lobsters will allow us to carry a lot more healing potential in our inventory, with 12 HP per lobster instead of the 9 from the other options. I'm not sure how much damage we'll take from Elvarg during Dragon Slayer, but I know I'd rather have too much food than not enough. And just a quick look at the Day 50 bank to end the day. Now, we said our goal was to get an upgrade to lobsters for our food source, but that means getting 40 cooking and 40 fishing, so we can both collect and cook the lobsters. 35 fishing lets us take on Temperos for a new fishing training method in the future. And we're closing in on 40 cooking. There we go. That lets us actually cook the lobsters, but we still need a couple more fishing levels. Now that we've got the cooking requirement out of the way, might as well try out Temperos. This is a fun little minigame slash skilling boss where we have to work with other players and the spirit anglers to tame the Temperos, some sort of sentient magical storm thing? I don't know. Honestly, I didn't read all of the lore. I just know that it gives us good fishing XP and some decent rewards. So, here we are. That's one Temperos down, and we should have time today to knock out another one or two. Unfortunately, we didn't quite manage to finish off 40 fishing, but we do get some decent supplies as rewards. Day 52, we're starting out with one more game of Temperos. Fortunately, we're super close to 40 fishing, so it literally does just take us one game here. So far, I'm definitely enjoying Temperos. The rewards are pretty good, and it seems to be pretty fun to me. What's more fun is getting 40 fishing, though. That lets us finally move on to getting some lobsters, so we're headed over to Catherby, the OG fishing guild. It's been so long since I tried fishing lobsters with this low of a fishing level, I honestly forgot how painful this was. Fortunately for us, we really don't need that many lobsters to be able to take on Dragon Slayer and set us up with at least a few extras in the bank. I think I'm just going to go for about 50 lobsters cooked and in the bank, and then I'll be happy with it. Love the cooking XP along the way. And with our goal of 50 plus lobsters out of the way, and a few minutes left, I decided to head over and try and take on a couple of the Zamorak warriors. Somebody had commented on one of my previous videos that these guys are a much better source of the Rune Scimitar, so decided to see if we could just get lucky. Like I said, they're a much better source of the Rune Scimitar. Like, a lot better. They drop it at a rate of 1 in 50 instead of 1 in 128, like the fire giants we fought for hours. So with that in mind, I decided, what better place to work on our next goal of 40 ranged than killing a bunch of these Zamorak warriors. It just seems like an obvious choice. We'll work on getting the ranged XP we need to go ahead and get ourselves our next upgrade, while also getting a chance at a nice Rune Scimitar drop. It's looking like ranged is the better choice for these guys anyway. We got absolutely dumpstered when we ran in here yesterday with an Addy Scimitar, but it's going a lot better with a crossbow and a little bit of distance now. Well, we didn't quite hit 40 ranged, but take a quick look at the day 53 bank anyway. Day 54, we're going to start out by just quickly finishing out that 40 ranged goal. And with that done, we'll finally be able to get our next combat gear upgrade with some green D-hide chaps and vambraces. 40 range done, we're going on to the next goal. 37 prayer to let us unlock the Protect from Magic prayer. This will be our first overhead protection prayer, and it'll help us survive the Dragonfire attack from Elvarg a little bit better. There we go. 37 prayer, that's Protect from Magic unlocked. That's going to be huge for us going forward, but it'll be even better when we unlock the other two overheads. Got ourselves the Coif upgrade. Now we can go buy the green D-hide chaps and vambraces. Now that we've got our last few combat equipment upgrades out of the way and we're looking like an absolute stud in our ranged gear, we can work on getting the few items that we need for the quest. This requires a little bit of running around, nothing too crazy though. Got a little bit of time left in the hour, so I might as well trade in our cat, grab a new kitten, and get a start on Dragon Slayer. We'll go ahead and get a little bit of lore from Oziak, who tells us to fight the Dragon of Crandor. And then chat with the Guildmaster, who tells us more about Crandor and where to find the 3 different map pieces that we need to find the island. The first 2 map pieces are pretty easy. This first one's extremely easy since we already prepped all the items. We basically just have to go grab it out of the chest. The second one, we just have to go jump over and kill this goblin, and then grab it off of his corpse. The third map piece gets a little more complicated. We have to fight our way through Melzar's maze, fighting ascendingly more difficult monsters as we go to collect keys and work our way towards Melzar the Mad. Once we kill Melzar, we can head into the next room and take on the final boss. No, don't.
Oh, I fucked it. God damn it.
That is, unless you're completely incompetent like me and you have to do the maze twice. But we still managed to get our hands on the third map piece. Now we just have to go get an anti-dragon shield from the Duke of Lumbridge, buy a ship and apparently some dude, repair it, and then recruit a captain to take us to Crandor. After surviving an attack from Elvarg and the subsequent shipwreck, unlike our homie cabin boy Jenkins, we'll take on Elvarg. And with that, everything we've been working towards comes to fruition. Elvarg is dead, and Dragon Slayer's complete. We get some nice strength and defense XP, and more importantly, the ability to equip rune plate bodies once we get about 85k. With a little time left after Dragon Slayer, I decided what better way to relax than working on a little more agility training. With just one more day left in the week after completing Dragon Slayer, I decided we'll just keep things a little more relaxed. Just gonna go ahead and work on a little more agility training. After our first agility level of the session, we're rewarded with a little bit of luck. We get a lamp that gives us another herblore level. Over 200 laps in on the Canifis agility course, I think we've got to get pretty close now to getting maybe our next piece of Graceful. I guess we'll have to check the bank when we're done today and see where we're at on Marks of Grace. Okay, quick look at the Week 8 bank. 59 Marks of Grace, so definitely pretty close to getting an upgrade there. Look at the stats, nothing too crazy. We're starting off the week back at the Canifis Rooftop Agility course, finishing off our push towards 50 agility. This has been a long time coming, but it'll be a really nice upgrade for our run energy. There it is, level 50 agility. Like we said, that's going to be huge for our run energy regen, but it does also unlock the Falador Rooftop course for us. We also had enough Marks of Grace saved up to splurge on another piece of Graceful, this time the top. And with about half of our hour session left on day 57, I decided to head back over to the Zamorak Warriors and see if we couldn't get lucky on the Rune Scimitar drop. And even if we don't, 40 defense makes it time well spent. That unlocks Rune Armor as well as the Green D'hide top for us. Oh, there it is! We finally got the Rune Scimitar. Alright, after a lot of hunting, there it is. We finally have our Rune Sim. As you can see, it took us 60 Zamorak Warriors, and we went over 260 Fire Giants dry on it. But the important thing is we have the Rune Scimitar now, and with a few minutes left in the hour, I decided to just relax and AFK filling the milk bucket. And we'll close day 57 with a quick peek at the bank. Day 58, it's time to finally get into the meat and potatoes. Or should I say, dirty blast and rotten tomatoes. Well, you get the point. We're finally starting on Recipe for Disaster. The intro is pretty quick. It's basically a more complicated version of Cook's Assistant. We just have to run around and grab a few ingredients. And there we go. We score ourselves an invitation to the feast, and after meeting all of the secret council in Lumbridge, we realize that we accidentally helped the cook unleash an evil magician. Fortunately, the gypsy heiress arrives and saves the day by freezing time, but we're left having to save each of the individual council members. First up, the goblin generals. This one's pretty easy, so it seemed like a good first quest to start with. We just have to go meet Mudknuckles, the cook in the goblin village, give him a few ingredients, and he'll make a lovely bowl of slop of compromise for us. Just use it on the generals, and there we go, our first subquest complete. Some nice XP, and a farming level up. Next up, we have to save the mountain dwarf by making him a rock cake. First up, we have to learn how to make a secret ale that the dwarves apparently love, because in typical old school RuneScape fashion, we'll be getting somebody drunk during this quest. Once we get Rohack sufficiently tipsy, he gives us our rock cake. We just have to cool it down by killing an ice fiend. And there we go, freeing the mountain dwarf complete. And a slayer level up for our troubles. Start out day 59 by trading in a cat for some death runes. Then we have to mine some coal to get ready for the Elemental Workshop 2 quest. This is a pretty straightforward puzzle-based quest that sends us back to the Elemental Workshop in Sears Village. Very similar to the first Elemental Workshop quest, just a little longer. But it does give us some nice crafting XP, which is ultimately what we're after. We need to hit level 42 crafting to be ready for our next RFD subquest. Alright, we just have to finish up crafting the mind bar, run downstairs and imbue it. And there we go, quest complete, 7,500 crafting XP. Jumps us up to level 40, so just 2 levels to go. We'll be blowing glass here in Port Phasmatis for our last couple levels, buying soda ash and sand from the trader ships, smelting it here at the furnace, blowing the glass and depositing it in the bank. Probably should have checked the wiki, but from what I was able to see with a quick glance around the map at least, this seemed like a really good spot to train crafting. There it is, level 42 crafting. That'll let us make the fishbowl that we need for our next subquest. And we'll need a couple of bronze wires for the next quest as well, so just going to close out the hour mining a little bit of copper and tin. Day 60, we're back to working on Recipe for Disaster. Just have to finish grabbing a few items for the Pirate Pete subquest first. The Pirate Pete subquest has always been my favorite part of RFD, I don't know about you guys. To save our new friend Pirate Pete, we have to make him a fish cake. Most of the ingredients are pretty easy to get, but to get the kelp and giant crab meat, we actually have to go diving under the seas of Gielinor with a really cool scuba rig. Once we collect 5 Mudskipper skins for the Mogre, we're able to get our giant crab meat and cook our crab cakes. This one gives us a nice mix of XP and another quest point. Next up, we have to take on Big Chompy bird hunting. It's a requirement for our next subquest. Fortunately, this one's pretty straightforward as well. Well, at least as long as you can understand what Rance the Ogre is telling you. We just have to make him some special ogre arrows so he can hunt himself a chompy bird for dinner. Then we have to go grab his ogre bellows to inflate the swamp toads to use to bait the birds. Once we successfully hunt and then cook the chompy bird for Rance, that's quest complete. We're rewarded with some really odd quantities of XP. Figured I'd stick around after the quest and try and get another chompy bird, but unfortunately all I did was lose my ring of life. Day 61, we're back to Recipe for Disaster, this time rescuing Scratch Uglogwi. We'll need another chompy bird for this one, which was why I was trying to get one when I lost my ring of life. But of course, when I checked the wiki for the requirements on this quest, I missed the 20 fire making, so we have to make a quick detour for that. 10 fire making. Unfortunately, I was only at 9 when I started, so we're still having to start out with normal logs. 15 fire making lets us move on to burning oak logs, which will definitely speed things up for us. There we go, 20 fire making out of the way. Now we can get back to helping Scratch, now that we can use the iron spit. Alright, we just have to cook this chompy, and then we can head back over. And Rance will teach us how to catch the jubbly bird. Just need to cook that, and then we can head back and rescue Scratch. Next up is the Lumbridge Guide. This is one of the easiest subquests, I would say. We can buy literally every item we need from the chest downstairs, and then we just have to go do a little bit of trivia time over in the Wizard's Tower. Finish up with a little memory matching game. And then we can make the Cake of Guidance and rescue the Lumbridge Guide. Alright, we've rescued 5 of the Secret Council members. That leaves only 3 remaining, and lets us get our hands on the Mithril Glove upgrade. It might not sound like much, but it's a big step forward for the account, and our first step towards the Barrows Gloves. Day 62, we're taking a step back from Recipe for Disaster to work on a couple of prerequisite quests. Once we finish collecting a few items we're gonna need, we're headed into the desert to the ruins of Uzer. Once there, we can get started on the Golem quest. First, we have to repair the clay golem, then we can explore the area a little bit, and eventually make our way over to the dig site to learn more about the area. Go on our own little national treasure adventure to steal something from the museum. Once we return it to its rightful place, we do a little more running around, and that's really going to be quest complete. 1,000 crafting and thieving XP gets us a nice thieving level up. And then we can move right on to Shadow of the Storm. Shadow of the Storm is a bit of a continuation of Demon Slayer, hence why we need to bring Silverlight with us. It also serves to introduce us to Evil Dave. We have to infiltrate the evil cult in order to make sure that they're not able to summon a demon. Well, we get tricked into helping them summon a demon, but it turns out that we were actually tricked into helping them banish a demon. So next we have to re-summon him with the help of these 3 others, and then we'll finally be able to fight the demon Agrithnar. Unfortunately, I came nowhere near prepared enough the first time, so I have to teleport out, re-gear, and grab more food. Fortunately for me, it goes quite a bit better the second time. We get to choose our combat XP reward. Of course, I'm going for magic. Day 63, we should be moving on to the Evil Dave subquest, but unfortunately, my kitten just isn't quite grown, and that quest is just painful without a fully grown cat. So, as a consolation prize, I decided to run over and get myself a nice adamant plate body for a gear upgrade. Then I decided to just relax for the rest of the hour and work on some woodcutting and fire making. It's something we're definitely going to need to do. Both of those skills have requirements that we're nowhere near yet to be able to finish up all of Recipe for Disaster. Of course, they're also far from the only skills that we're going to need to work on in order to be able to complete RFD and all of its prerequisites. 30 fire making there, that'll let us move on to willow logs. Finally clear out the ones I've had in the bank. 35 fire making already. I wish everything in this game went by as quick as early fire making levels. Week 9 bank is looking pretty good, starting to get a nice stock of herbs going. And our stats aren't looking too bad either. We cracked 750 total level this week. Last week, we made quite a bit of progress in Recipe for Disaster. We were able to finish out the first 5 subquests and get our hands on the Mithril Gloves. But we ended up getting bottlenecked by our kitten. To complete the next Recipe for Disaster subquest, we need to have not only the stews we're making right now, but also a fully grown cat. and unfortunately, I'm still waiting on mine. I decided to make the best of the downtime and head over to Catherby for a little bit of cooking and fishing training. As we start pushing into harder quests and bigger challenges down the road, it's going to continue to be important to have better food as we go. Lobsters have served us well so far. They helped us make it through the Elvarg fight, but unfortunately, they just aren't going to cut it long term. "45 cooking's a big unlock. That lets us cook swordfish as well as meat pizzas now. Fortunately, our cat is now fully grown and ready to go for RFD. And squeeze in a quick farming run while we're already in Catherby. And a peek at the Day 64 bank. Start out on Day 65 with a little bit more farming. And then we'll move on to the Evil Dave subquest from Recipe for Disaster. Once we make our way up to Edgeville, we learn from Evil Dave and his mom that we need to kill all of Dave's hell rats to recover the spices for the stew that we need to cook. This part's a bit annoying, and unfortunately takes a lot of trial and error. Even worse for me, I ended up being 1 dash of spice short from the absolute maximum amount of spice that you can need to make Dave's totally evil stew. A bit more brute forcing, and eventually, we do manage to get the combination down. Head back to Lumbridge, and we can rescue Evil Dave. We're rewarded with another quest point, and a nice bit of cooking XP, enough to get us a level up. More important, however, is the upgrade to the Adamant Gloves. With our last RFD subquest out of the way, or at least the last one we can complete for a little while, it's time to shift gears and start working on money making. First up, we're going to try crafting silver sickles and selling them to the shop. Now, if it's painful for you to watch me sit here and craft silver sickles instead of holy symbols for sale, I apologize. I just completely confused the two when I was doing the mining and crafting and made sickles. I know holy symbols are worth more. Unfortunately, I didn't realize my error when I was recording Day 66 either, so we're going to continue building our silver sickle empire today. At least we're getting some solid mining and crafting XP as we're going. A little bit of smithing as well. If you guys know any other good money makers that we can do, aside from switching from sickles to holy symbols, let me know. I am definitely down to try out any of your guys' suggestions for good early Ironman moneymakers. Definitely not the most exciting gameplay in the world, but at least it's getting us some slow and steady progress towards that rune plate body goal for the week. The rune plate body itself sits at over 84k, and I definitely still want to have a little bit of GP left over so we can get runes and other gear in the future. With over 200 sickles in the bank, I decided it was time to move on, but not before we grab a free XP lamp and an herb lore level. Our next money-making method is the only one that I've really used on the account so far. It's how I funded all of the runes I've used for magic training. That's collecting plate bodies in the lava maze in the wilderness. Day 67, we're locked into the goal on money making and headed to the lava maze. Horvik and Varrock will pay 1200 gold for these steel plate bodies, so it's definitely worth the risk that comes with being in the wilderness. With our first inventory down, we just have to survive getting down to level 20 wilderness so we can teleport out, and then rinse and repeat the process. Now, in my opinion, it's already bad enough that we're having to spend time in the wilderness. As a lifelong skiller and hater of all things PKing, I just definitely not a fan of any time I have to be in the wilderness. It's even worse because we're not actually gaining any XP with this money-making method. We're just collecting the plate bodies. Once we've got enough plate bodies banked up to afford our rune plate body upgrade, it's time to move on to working on upgrading the money-making method itself. We need something reliable that's going to earn us GP while also giving us some decent XP. I really don't even care in what skill. We were able to collect 4 inventories of steel plate bodies on day 67 in total, just had to finish the last minute or two of running out of the wilderness. With our loot securely in the bank, we can turn to the real focus for day 68, working towards Wintertod. We just need to hit 50 fire making, then we can give it a shot. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Wintertod's going to be a great longer-term source of money, as well as a lot of great skilling materials that we're going to need to get our hands on anyway, so it's definitely something we're going to want to unlock. Ooh, bird's nest, nice. Got sapphire ring. Oh my god, is that another bird's nest? That's insane. I just had to include that last clip. I've never seen 2 bird's nests drop that close together. I checked, and it was less than 20 seconds apart. 41 woodcutting there would normally be a pretty big upgrade level, as it lets you get the rune axe, but the problem for us is actually getting our hands on one. The only way I really know of to get one is from the woodcutting guild, or we could try killing nature spirits, but we'd have to unlock fairy rings for that first. Well, our focus is really on the fire making, but we're actually getting some decent woodcutting levels today too. And of course we have to make time for a farming run when we're nearby. 20 farming is a nice reward. We also had a few acorns in the bank, so I figured I better grab some pots for those. Day 69, we're back on the woodcutting and fire making grind. At least we get to hang out and drain our village. Still one of my favorite spots in the game. Yesterday, we got our first few acorns planted into saplings, but soon we're going to get to realize some massive gains on our farming training because of that. Instead of the couple dozen XP we're getting from our low-level allotments, we're actually going to get over 460 XP per sapling. 45 woodcutting there, that lets us cut maple trees now. And 45 fire making lets us burn the maple logs. Of course, we won't get to actually harvest our oak trees today, but we can get the first few saplings in the ground. Then we can move on to spending the last chunk of the hour world hopping to sell our plate bodies and sickles, just a few at a time. 133k might not sound like too much, but it's definitely the most I've ever had on this account. And of course, like any financially responsible adult who just got their first big payday, we're gonna go spend it all on a rune plate body. And a green d'hide body. That's 2 massive combat gear upgrades for us, and a huge style upgrade as well. The shopping spree took a lot out of me. I couldn't think of a better way to recover than a little bit of a farming field trip. And a quick vacation to Korend to knock out the Client of Korend quest. This is a pretty quick and easy one. We just have to run around to each of the houses of Great Korend and speak to the shopkeepers, then back to Veas. This quest really just serves as an intro to the region, with each shopkeeper telling you a bit about that house's lore, as well as what you can do in that area. Of course, nothing's ever easy where Veas is concerned, so we have to run over to the Dark Altar as well. It was well worth it though, because we get 2 XP lamps, and not 1, but 2 herblore levels. Quick farming detour on our way, grab 21 farming. And then we can finally head over to Sears Village, get a little bit of a change of scenery while we're doing our woodcutting and fire making. Sears Village is another long-time favorite location of mine. It's kind of the OG woodcutting guild. I've spent a lot of time here over the years. Alright, a quick look at the stat gains for week 10. And the bank to round it out. Day 71, we're kicking off the week with some farming runs. I've noticed that farming's going to be a limiting factor for us with quest requirements going forward, so I figure it's best to start on it now and get those levels coming in soon. Fortunately for us, these early farming levels still come pretty quick, especially with the upgrade to starting to do our first tree runs now. These oak trees have been a huge upgrade for us, giving us hundreds of XP per tree instead of the dozens that we were getting from the allotments we've been doing. Of course, we're not giving up the allotments either. And with our farming runs out of the way, we're headed over to Sears Village to work on some woodcutting and firemaking training today. We're still working towards the 50 firemaking requirement to unlock Wintertod, and I figured what better place to train than Sears Village. Now, I haven't checked the exact XP rates, but I think that chopping and burning these maples is technically a little bit slower than sticking with the willow trees, but it's just so nostalgic to be back here. Sears Village is definitely one of my top places to train woodcutting and firemaking. I know it's more efficient to just train at Wintertod, which is what most people do, and it's what I'm working towards, but it's just so much fun to be here for the early levels. Do you guys have a favorite place to train woodcutting and firemaking? For the early levels, do you prefer Draenor, Sears, or somewhere else? Alright, one last woodcutting level to close out the hour, and a quick look at the Day 71 bank. Day 72, we're still here in Sears. We've got just 2 more levels to go on our firemaking before we can head off to try out Wintertod. It's definitely fun training here in Sears Village, but I am looking forward to the rewards we can pull down from Wintertod. It's a great source for different skilling training materials, but honestly at this point, I'm really just looking forward to tree seeds and more food. Alright, 50 firemaking there. That's Wintertod unlocked, as well as the ability to burn mahogany logs. Well, we got the level requirement out of the way, but we actually still have one more thing we have to do before we can head over to Wintertod, and that's find ourselves some sort of warm clothing. Right now I'm digging up the Clue Hunter outfit, because that's an easy-to-find source for any Ironman. It's definitely essential to have some kind of warm clothing for Wintertod, as it helps to mitigate the crazy amount of cold damage you otherwise take. With our warm clothes on our back, we're ready to head into Wintertod, start chopping roots, fletching it into kindling, and eventually feeding it into the brazier, all while we're trying to survive the cold damage that we're taking. And then we profit! We get some huge firemaking XP rewards, and each reward crate gives us a couple of chances to roll at a supply drop table, and maybe even get lucky on some pyromancer gear. I would love to get my hands on any of the pyromancer pieces early on, as any piece is going to help boost our XP rates just a little bit. Every little bit does help. Day 73, we're back at Wintertod. Now, I actually remembered to turn on the Entity Hider plugin today on Day 73 when I was recording as well, so fortunately, we're not getting lost in a sea of other players right now. I feel like it's so hard to keep track of where your player's at and how much damage you're taking from the cold in Wintertod if you don't have the Entity Hider on. Couple of fletching levels, and we're already up to 56 firemaking. Definitely a productive day. I'm definitely enjoying the Wintertod experience so far. It's a pretty fun gameplay loop, and it's definitely a lot more engaging than just clicking and watching myself chop a maple tree. And 59 firemaking there to close out the hour. We'll go ahead and pick up all of our loot for the day, including a pair of warm gloves. Now, technically this is not a piece of the pyromancer gear, as it does not give you the XP bonus. On day 74, we're starting out with just a little more firemaking training here at Wintertod before we get back onto the questing grind. Questing is important, but it just feels wrong to leave firemaking at 59 and leave. I just have to stick around for one more level. And a fletching level, little bonus along the way. And there we go, our goal for 60 fire making. And sticking around paid off. We got the Pyromancer top today. That'll be a nice XP boost. Next up is the Lost City quest, an absolutely iconic members quest that introduces the fairy city of Zanaris. The leprechaun there directs us over to the holy island of Entrana. We have to kill a zombie to get an axe. Once we sneak past the greater demons and try to chop the tree, we have to fight the tree spirit. Alright, with the tree spirit defeated, we can finally chop a Dramen branch, and I decided better grab several extras. With our new Dramen staff, we can head over to Zanaris and finally complete the Lost City quest. It might not be today, but we'll be back for our first dragon weapon. Next up, we're taking on Fairy Tale 1. We start out by running around to speak with 5 different gardeners to hear what they think might be causing the disruption with crops. Somehow, fairies are the most reasonable explanation, so we're actually headed back to Zanaris to continue our investigation. There, we learn that the Fairy Queen has fallen ill, and it's up to us to rescue her. Now, this next part could be a huge derail for our account, because we're going to be told to collect 3 random items. Fortunately for us, we only need to get our hands on an oyster and some charcoal, and I think I actually have a red vine worm left in the bank. Day 75, we're starting out by grabbing the oyster we need from fishing in Catherby, then the red vine worm from the bank, and a charcoal from the jungle store. With our 3 ingredients collected, we can get our secateurs enchanted, gear up, and go take on the Tanglefoot. Unfortunately, we do have to use the secateurs to damage it. We can't bring our rune scimitar. There we go, with the Tanglefoot defeated, we can return the Queen's secateurs, complete the quest, get a nice farming level for our troubles. Speaking of farming levels, gotta keep them coming. I haven't been the best about keeping up with farming runs, but at least these trees are speeding things up a bit. After our farming detour, we're jumping right into Fairy Tale 2 to unlock the fairy rings. Thankfully, we don't actually have to fully complete the quest to unlock the fairy rings, which is good for us, because I don't have all of the required stats to actually complete the entire quest. And just like that, we have fairy rings unlocked. That really changes everything for how we get around the world now. I decided to stick with the quest at least until we hit a stage where we can't actually progress any further. And it doesn't take long until we run into a wall that's requiring 40 thieving, so figure might as well go ahead and train thieving for a little while. Day 76, we're starting out by stealing from the fruit stalls in Hosidius. It's pretty straightforward. Once we trap the 2 dogs beside the stall, we just kinda click mash until we get a level up. Unfortunately, most of the fruit that we're stealing isn't actually worth doing anything with. The purple strange fruits are great, those can restore some run energy for us. And the Golovana tops are worth keeping as well, because we can use those to make botanical pies later. 38 thieving lets us pickpocket master farmers, which will definitely be coming in handy. Then we'll pay a visit to the estate agent next door and pick up our keys to our player-owned home. We won't be doing much with it yet, but at least now we can gain construction XP from repairing the brazier in Wintertod. Level 40 thieving there. That'll let us both pickpocket guards, as well as continue and do at least a few more steps on Fairy Tale 2 when we get back to it. And with just a bit of time left, we might as well make the best of it, plant our first ever fruit tree, and continue on with a bit more farming. Day 77, we get to really take advantage of our fairy rings for the first time on our way to go start the Jungle Potion quest. Jungle Potion's a really simple and pretty quick quest. We just have to run around the area here and collect 5 different herbs. We end up taking forever to collect this last rogue's purse, but our patience is rewarded with quest complete and an herb lore level. That's a big one. Every time we unlock a new herb, it speeds up our herb lore training going forward, too. Next, we're headed up to Varrock to start the dig side quest. With our letter from the Varrock Museum curator in hand, we're able to attempt, but unfortunately fail, the natural history quiz. In order to find out the correct answers, we have to collect a few items from around the dig site, and then ask these students for help. Armed with their correct answers, we're able to actually pass the level 1 exam this time. Then we just have to go repeat the process, ask the students for more help, complete level 2, and once again ask the students for a little more help, and then we can complete level 3. Now that we're fully qualified, we can engage in a little archaeology ourselves. We end up discovering a Zeroshan talisman, and once we invent some form of Gillenorian dynamite, we basically blow our way into a Zeroshan temple underground as well. Once we recover the stone tablet from the cave, we can turn it in to the archaeological expert to complete the quest. We're rewarded with 2,000 herblore XP and a really nice chunk of mining XP, gets us a couple level ups in each skill. And then with just a few minutes left in the week, I decided it was time to head over and pickpocket some master farmers. Might as well work on getting a nice baseline of seeds for ourselves for future farming training. And we'll end week 11 with a quick look at the stats. It's coming along nicely. And just a peek at the week 11 bank. We're kicking off day 78 with a full farming run. Trees, herbs, allotments, and even one of our very first fruit trees. There's a lot of quests with farming requirements, and it's a slow skill to train even on a normal account, let alone when you're restricted to 1 hour in-game per day. Fortunately for us, our new fruit trees and upgraded methods, combined with our fairy rings to help us get around, are making a big difference. We already jumped up 2 farming levels just today, and we unlocked the ability to farm Ranarweed, which is going to be huge for prayer potions later on. Of course, we can't start our new career as a master farmer without stealing some seeds from one first, so we have to head over to Draenor Village and work on pickpocketing for a while. These master farmers are a great source of early seeds of all types. They've pretty much got everything we need at this point to sustain our farming training for a while. Well, aside from a willingness to spend part of our precious hour every day. Like I said, not bad loot. Take a look at what we got in just a half hour today. Day 79 we'll be shifting back to questing, but we're already here, so I decided to spend a little more time pickpocketing the Master Farmer to bank up some more seeds, and grab another thieving level. Now that we're 4 or 5 levels past the minimum required level to pickpocket these Master Farmers, I'm definitely starting to feel the higher success rates, which is nice. After a quick farming detour near Falador on the way, we'll be headed over to Karen to start questing, and first up is the Queen of Thieves. This quest serves as our introduction to the House of Piscarilius in Karen, and sees us start to uncover a web of corruption in the Great Island Kingdom, while also sort of participating in it ourselves. Of course, all in the name of helping Lady Piscarilius expose the demonic disciples of Yama, which I guess seems like a worthy cause to me. More important, however, is that 2,000 thieving XP, that quest point, and that memoir page, which serves as a really handy teleport around Karen. Up next is the Forsaken Tower. This one ties directly into the lore of Wintertodt and introduces us to the House of Lovakenge. The doors of Din that keep the Wintertodt sealed away are starting to fail, and we have to recover Din's hammer from the Forsaken Tower by completing a series of increasingly weird puzzles. That way, the doors of Din can be repaired and Karen can be saved from the Wintertodt. Once we return the hammer, that's quest complete. We're rewarded with a little bit of mining and smithing XP, but more importantly, another memoir page. And lastly, we'll wrap up with just a quick tree farming run in Varrock. Day 80 is another big questing day, starting out with the feud out in Palnivniche. This one sees us getting involved in the middle of a rivalry between 2 different desert gangs, all at the behest of Ali Morrisane. Despite our best efforts to patch up the old rivalry between the Menophites and the Bandits, it turns out that good old-fashioned violence is gonna be the answer. Good old RuneScape, giving a bunch of people beer and beating up some others. The feud involves a lot of small steps. We're running back and forth between the gangs, we're gathering information, we're doing a bit of undercover work, and a little bit of poisoning, apparently. And again, all of this is in the name of stopping the violence between these two gangs, but we just seem to be causing more of it. And wouldn't you know it, in the end, the answer was just a little more violence. Once we kill the leaders of the Menophites and the bandits, we're able to kinda just put an end to the whole thing and return to Ollie, who, it turns out, might be RuneScape's biggest scammer. He literally sent us on this whole quest just in the name of selling us some gear at the beginning and making money from the merchants that we had to deal with throughout it. Either way, that's quest complete. We're rewarded with 1 quest point and 15,000 thieving XP. Next, we're rolling right into the tourist trap and keeping up with the desert questing. We start by helping a tourist find her daughter, and it quickly turns into infiltrating a mining camp, disguising ourselves as a prisoner, sneaking around the guards, and working our way through the mines without getting caught. Oh, and randomly making a detour to discover the secrets to making thrown dart weapons, because they tied that into this quest. Alright, we're back on track, and we're finally getting close to rescuing Anna. We have to pretty much just capture her in a barrel and rescue her against her own will. I don't know why she's so adamant on resisting this when she was captured, turned into a slave, and forced to work in a mine. But that's really not my business. I'm just here for the 2 quest points and the bit of XP we get. Day 81, we're shifting gears a little bit and going full druid mode, focusing entirely on farming and herb lore training today. And our farming runs are starting to get even bigger and better. In addition to the allotments and herbs that we've been doing, we're starting to mix in new patches with bushes as well as hops. Next, we'll move into the herb lore side of the druid life. We've got some decent herbs banked up, but we have to work on getting some secondaries. So, in the name of potion making, I'm collecting red spider eggs, ashes, eyes of newt, and the unicorn horns that you saw earlier, so we can start training some herb lore. All of the item requirements make herb lore another slower skill to train as an Ironman, but it's an important one to start working on. It's going to be required for different quests, and we're going to need prayer and stamina potions later. We're already in Draenor Village at the beginning of day 82, so what better way to start out than pickpocketing the master farmer a little bit more? If you think about it, we really need the seeds more than he does. He never leads the market square here, so I don't know how much farming he actually does. I mean, look at us. We're out here. We're making our farming runs. And with all the quest requirements we've got coming up, it's important that we keep doing it too. 35 farming's a pretty good start on the way, though. With our farming runs out of the way for the day, we're headed over to Mauritania, to the village of Morton, so we can start on the Shades of Morton quest. This one feels a little bit different. There's no crazy bosses to kill, and there's no difficult puzzles to solve either. Instead, we're just helping the villagers of the town of Morton. We're rebuilding their temple, we're mixing experimental potions and serums to help them recover, and as you can see, taking out a few of the shades that have infested their village. Next up, we have to help repair the temple in the north end of the village. Fortunately for us, there is a dedicated world where we can get help from other players to speed things up. Next, we learn how to burn pyre logs and sacrifice shade remains. Then we can finally return to Allsquare Chauncey and complete the quest. We're rewarded with 3 quest points, 2,000 herblore XP, which is enough to jump us up to level 27. And then, with just a little bit of time left in the hour, I decided to take advantage of our cowbell teleport and head over to Lumbridge to fight Brutus for a little while. We're rewarded with some nice combat XP, but no crazy loot yet. We're already in Brutus's pen, and I've still got plenty of food, so I decided to start out day 83 with a few more kills. The strength XP just keeps rolling in, jump up to level 46. And then the repeat loot starts to roll in too. We ended up getting our second bottomless milk bucket and 2 more Muleta defenders on top of the 3 we already had in the bank. Unfortunately, no cow slippers or beef pet, but we're still considerably under drop rate on both of those, so I really can't complain. Once we started to run low on food, I decided to mix in a quick bush farming run and then head over to start the nearby clock tower quest. This one's pretty straightforward. The monk in charge of the clock tower just needs our help to recover 4 different colored cogs, reinstall them on the clock tower, and then that's it. We just have to help him repair it. Even better, all of the cogs can be found in the basement directly underneath the clock tower, so we don't have to do much running around either. And that'll be quest complete for a quest point and 500 coins. Definitely not our most heroic work so far, but hey, it puts us 1 quest closer to our goal of getting the quest cape. Lastly, we round out day 83 with a quick tree farming run, and then mining some pure essence here in Varrock. It's handy to have in the bank, as it is required for a couple of quests, and just in case we ever get the urge to do any rune crafting. It's the final day of the week, and we're starting out by grabbing all the items required for the Daddy's Home mini-quest. Marlowe, the guy who runs Mahogany Homes, is too busy with his new job, so he needs our help to go and create new furniture for his dad, Yarlo, in Varrock. Once we replace all of his basic furniture, we have to go get some special waxwood planks made so we can build him a new bed. And that's the mini-quest complete. We're rewarded with a nice crate of construction supplies and a total of level 8 construction. Quick detour to the bank to use up the few herblore supplies we had banked up. With another herblore level in the books, we're headed to spend the rest of our day over at Wintertodd. I just couldn't resist seeing if we get lucky with any more pyromancer pieces, or maybe even a pet. 50 wood cuttings, a decent consolation prize if nothing else today. And our first construction level from Wintertodd since we bought our player-owned home. I really don't plan on actively training construction much, so for the foreseeable future, most of our construction XP that we get is probably just coming from Wintertodd. After 1 more fire-making level, we're headed outside to grab our loot.
Oh, nice. We got the hood. That's awesome.
Well, no crazy luck on a Phoenix pet today, but hey, a Pyromancer hood's a good consolation prize and a nice XP boost. Finally, a quick look at the Week 12 stats, big highlights being the herblore and farming levels, and a peek at the Week 12 bank. Day 85, we're starting out by jumping right into the Creature of Fenkenstrain quest. This one starts up near Canifis, where Dr. Fenkenstrain needs help creating himself a new undead servant. We're roped into digging up body parts, buying a brain, killing one of the doctor's failed experiments. Pretty much whatever we're asked. You know, just standard mad scientist henchman stuff. Once he's got a body stitched together, of course we then have to repair his lightning conductor for him. For some reason, this requires becoming an improvised chimney sweep. And once we end up reanimating the new monster, we actually learn that Dr. Fenkenstrain killed him and all of the other inhabitants of the castle in the first place, so we end up just robbing him to complete the quest. Weird ending, but I don't care. Honestly, I'm just here for 2 quest points and a bit of thieving XP. After the quest, it's back to reality with a full farming run. Trees, herbs, allotments, bushes, little bit of everything, all to push us up to 36 farming. I know, super exciting, but it's a necessity if we ever want to get our hands on that quest cape. Plus, we have to get our hands on herbs for herblore training somewhere. Speaking of necessities, I noticed our food stacks in the bank were getting a bit low, so we're spending our last few minutes fishing lobsters here in Catherby. Day 86 starts just where we left off yesterday with a bit more lobster fishing. Not the most exciting thing, but we need some food for questing coming up. A quick farming detour before we leave Catherby ends up putting us up to 37 farming. Then we're headed over to the Tree Gnome Village to start on the Tree Gnome Village quest.
We're briefed by King Bolrin on the battles against the Khazard armies, and it's not going so well, so we're enlisted to help Commander Montai improve the defenses for the gnomes, as well as acquiring coordinates from tracker gnomes so we can activate a ballista strike. That allows us to sneak our way into the Khazard base and steal back the orbs of protection that the gnomes were missing. Unfortunately, while we were recovering the first orb, the Khazard warlord snuck into the camp and stole the rest, so we have to go take him on. With him dealt with, we can recover the remaining orbs and return them to King Bolrin to complete the ritual and the quest. We're rewarded with 2 quest points and over 11,000 attack XP. After that, we'll pick up a Cave Crawler Slayer task. Fortunately, we get to make use of our handily unlocked fairy rings on our way to the Fremmenik Slayer Cave. It's a good thing I remembered to bring some anti-poisons. These guys don't hit very hard, but the poison they inflict does. Of course, a Slayer level will always make up for it. We just barely managed to finish the task in the hour, and it's our first task to give us any Slayer points. Now that we're finally earning some Slayer points for our tasks, I decided to start out day 87 with a little more Slayer training. First up is Cave Bugs here in the Lumbridge Swamp Caves. With how quickly our Cave Bug task went, I decided to squeeze in one more after this, and this time we're assigned 11 ghouls. Fortunately, these ghouls are conveniently located right near Canifis and the Slayer Master that we got the task from. Unfortunately, these ghouls have a habit of running away from us towards the end of each fight. With our second Slayer task of the day done, it's time to shift gears and start on the Grand Tree Quest. King Narnode asks for our help to figure out why the Grand Tree is dying and sends us to launch an investigation. Gluff, an advisor to the king, immediately blames everything on a suspected human invasion and has a way too convenient fall guy set up for this. We end up getting accused of treason against the gnomes, imprisoned, broken out by the king, and sent to investigate even further. We end up finding a secret shipyard that's building an entire fleet of warships for the gnomes to invade the humans. Finally, we manage to conclusively implicate Gluff in the plot, and he confronts us with a big scary black demon to try and kill us. Once we defeat the demon and locate the Daconia Rock, it's quest complete, and we're rewarded with a nice mix of XP, and it was enough to get us a few attack levels and an agility level. We once again have about 15 minutes after a quest, so what better way to spend our remaining time than another Slayer task? It ends up being a worthwhile investment. We end up with a magic level, and another Slayer level. Day 88, we're going to start out by quickly finishing the Shade Slayer task, but then we'll be turning to face a uniquely Ironman problem. We need to get our hands on a mud rune for the next quest in the series, and that means getting a few more talismans. Oh, yes!
That's one of our talismans. With an Earth Talisman down and just a couple minutes, we're left just hunting the Water Talisman.
Oh, nice. There's our Water Talisman, too. That's so good.
We got lucky with getting both talismans in about 8 minutes, so we can start training a few levels of rune crafting quick. We need to be level 13 in order to craft the mud runes we need for the quest. Of course, we didn't have enough rune essence in the bank, so we have to make a detour to the rune essence mines as well. Despite only getting 5 XP per essence mined, I even managed to pick up a mining level while we were here. Finally, we're able to finish 13 rune crafting, which unlocks our ability to craft the mud runes we need for the next gnome quest. After all of our rune crafting today, we don't really have time to jump right into the next quest, so I decided to just fill our last bit with a little more agility training.
Day 89, we're starting out back in Canifis, going for at least one agility level here today. Now, the agility levels may be slowing down, but fortunately the Marks of Grace are not. We're still a ways off on our Mark of Grace stack, but it's going to be really nice to get our hands on our next piece of the Graceful outfit and someday complete the whole set. But for now, I'm happy with just level 52 agility. Next, we're back to the Gnome Stronghold to start the Eyes of Glaufrey quest. After inspecting the workshop, we're sent to go speak with our friend Hazelmere that we met in the previous quest. He gives us a fascinating look into gnome history, telling us all about how Glaufrey deceived the previous gnome king, requiring Oknok to build the very machine that we inspected earlier to expose the truth. Of course, he then breaks in to sabotage the machine, so we have to use the fancy magic glue we made with our mud rune to repair it, and then figure out an interesting, or should I say painful puzzle that involves putting in a bunch of different magical colored discs. Once repaired, the machine reveals that the adorable creatures scattered around the stronghold are actually undercover evil spies. Once we take them all out, we're able to speak to the king and complete the quest. We're rewarded with a huge amount of magic, rune crafting, and a little bit of construction XP. More important, however, is the crystal saw seed. We're able to turn it into a crystal saw that'll give us a huge construction boost for in the future. Day 90 is simple. We're going back to the wilderness to train prayer, which also means day 90 is probably going to end badly. But we have one important goal in mind. If we can get our hands on the protection prayers, it's all going to be worth the risk that we're taking being in the wilderness. Level 40 prayer unlocks protect from missiles, but of course, we're not done yet. We have to keep going for 43 for protect from melee. Oh, Jesus. Oh, god damn it! I've been waiting for it to happen. I can't even be that mad. As you can see, the skeletons got the better of us, but we're not giving up yet. 42 prayer makes it all worth it. Until... Ah, fuck. That's okay. After how things went in the wilderness, I decided to take on the Holy Grail quest to try and get our prayer XP there instead. To start out, we have to head to Intrana to learn how to make our way to the Fisher Realm, and to Galahad to recover an artifact from the realm. When we finally make it into the Fisher Realm, there's a Black Knight Titan standing between us and the Fisher Castle. In order to defeat him, you have to equip Excalibur for at least the final blow, which I forgot to do, so unfortunately I'm out of food and have to flinch him for the entire second kill. And with that done, we can finally head inside to meet the king. It turns out that the Fisher King is dying, and we need to find his son Percival, one of King Arthur's knights. With Percival back, we can return the Holy Grail to King Arthur and be rewarded with our 11,000 prayer XP, enough to jump us up to level 44 and unlock protection from melee. The defense XP we get is nice too, but the prayer is really the highlight. Protection prayers will change absolutely everything and enable all sorts of new content for us going forward. We'll be able to try out harder quests, take on new bosses, and improve all of our combat and Slayer training. Finally, a quick look at the Week 13 stat improvements, the big highlights being rune crafting and prayer, and a peek at the Week 13 bank. Day 92 sees the week start out with another farming run. Unfortunately, I'm out of both tree seeds and saplings, but we can still at least go ahead and get some bushes plus herbs and allotments done. Even without the extra XP from trees, we managed to squeeze a farming level out of the trip. Fortunately, it looks like we also only lost one of our herb patches today. That'll definitely help rebuild the herb stacks in the bank. And with our farming run done, it's on to the real goal for day 92. Today, we're trying to make some money. And for once, we're actually earning XP while we do it. It turns out that you can purchase uncut gems from the gem merchant Tosi here in Alderan, cut them, and then sell them right back to her for a pretty healthy profit. Between the fact that we're making XP and we're not having to spend time in the wilderness, I consider this a huge upgrade over the steel plate bodies. Plus, the money's not bad either. We made about 54k GP in half an hour. Fortunately, that gives us enough to grab some rune plate legs and give ourselves a nice melee gear upgrade. Day 93, we're headed back to Varlamore, this time to fight the Gemstone Crab. If somehow you play old school RuneScape, but you're not familiar with the Gemstone Crab, you're missing out. It's a world boss that has effectively unlimited hit points, and instead loses health on a 10-minute timer. In other words, large groups of players can just AFK for up to 10 minutes at a time fighting the crab. Oh, and you'll also take very little, if not absolutely no damage throughout the entire fight too. All of that together makes it a really good place for us to work on training up our combat skills. And we really need to work on getting towards level 60 attack. After all, what's the point of completing Monkey Madness this week if we can't eventually get to use the Dragon Scimitar? Well, we're still quite a ways off from our goal of level 60, but level 49's a nice step along the way. Day 94 starts out with just a little bit more Gemstone Crab. After all, it just wouldn't feel right to leave with level 49 attack. And I'm definitely glad I stayed, because we got 50 hit points as well. There's our goal of 50 attack for the day. We'll just stay and round out the crab kill. Once we're done here, we'll be shifting gears to prepare all the items we need for In Search of the Myrique. I decided, why not get started with a slightly easier quest than Monkey Madness this week? With all of our items prepped, we can head over to start In Search of the Myrique by talking to Vanstrom Klaus here at the bar in Canifis. Vanstrom tells us that he wants us to deliver all of our steel weapons down to the Myrique, an anti-vampire freedom fighting group hiding out in the swamps. Once we make our way through the swamp and find a boat downriver, we're able to talk our way into the Myrique hideout, where we meet Veliath and the rest of the Myrique. Unfortunately, Vanstrom shows up, reveals himself as one of the evil vampires controlling the area, and kills most of the members around us. Fortunately for us, unlocking protection from melee makes quick work of the fight. With Vanstrom's skeletal servant defeated, we just have to finish a little bit of dialogue, and that's quest complete. This is it. Day 95 is the big one. We're finally starting on Monkey Madness by talking to King Narnode here in the Tree Gnome Stronghold. After we uncovered Gluff's secret shipyard earlier in the Gnome questline, the King sent his elite 10th Squadron to decommission the unsanctioned warship construction. Unfortunately, the 10th Squadron has lost contact, so we're sent to go out and find them. Before we can use one of the Gnome's experimental gliders to continue on our mission, we have to complete one of the game's most annoying puzzles. Once we reach the crash site, we learn that most of the 10th Squadron is on the nearby Ape Atoll, and we also witness a cutscene that lets us know that Gluff is still got some loyal servants out there. Once we make it to the nearby Ape Atoll, it becomes immediately clear that humans aren't welcome. We're shot by all the guards on our way in and imprisoned by a bunch of apes. After a few tries, we're successful in eventually breaking out of our prison cell. Once outside, we can track down Garkor, the leader of the 10th Squad. Garkor sends us to go find his mage Zuknok, but first we have to collect a few supplies to make ourselves a monkey speech amulet. Then we have to survive getting through the tunnels to make it to Zuknok. It ends up taking all of my prayer and most of my food. Now, since we already collected all the supplies, we have everything we need. We just have to go and actually craft the monkey speech amulet. Unfortunately, I managed to get caught by the guards on my first attempt of the next step, so we have to break out of prison before we can make our way back to chat with the monkey child. After picking him some bananas, he gives us his new toy, the monkey talisman we need. Day 96, we're right back to it and working on monkey madness again. Fortunately, I was able to manage my prayer a bit better on the run through the tunnels this time, so we didn't waste quite as many supplies getting to Zooknock today. And Zooknock crafts us our monkey Gree. And then we're treated to a cutscene that teaches us that Waydar, one of the gnomes we've been working with, is actually in on Gluff's plot. Now, for this next part, we have to use our monkey Gree to go rescue another monkey from captivity in the zoo in Artie. Oh, being a monkey sure has its benefits. We're able to just walk right through the gates and wander around the village this time. We even managed to get ourselves an audience with the Monkey King, as pursuant to Garkor's plan. But it ends up being irrelevant, because Garkor informs us that the Monkey King is actually in on Gluff's plan with Waydar and the others. Garkor fills us in on the plan. He's figured out a way that we're going to get teleported along with all of the gnomes into the final battle to help them. So we have to go get prepared. First, we'll get geared up in our best magic gear. Then, we'll go fish up an inventory of lobsters so we've got some decent food. Once we're fully prepared, or at least as prepared as we're gonna get, we teleport ourselves into the fight against the jungle demon. He eats through our prayer pretty quickly, and we start taking some pretty big hits. And just like that, we managed to pull it off. We're able to return to King Narnode and complete the quest. We're rewarded with 3 quest points, but more important is access to Darrow's training. It rewards us a huge lump sum of hit points, strength, defense, and attack XP. With just a little bit of time left in the hour, I decided what better way to cool down than grabbing our banked up herbs and going for 29 herb lore. Day 97 starts out with just a little more herb lore training. Have to collect a few secondaries so we can use up the rest of the herbs we have in the bank. The anti-poisons are nice, it'll help replenish the few that we used up during Monkey Madness. Then a detour back to the Grand Tree to pick up some chocolate dust and make our very first few energy potions. And we get lucky on a nice lamp from a genie that just barely pushes us to 30 herb lore. After all the stress of Monkey Madness, what better way to relax than just a quick farming run? Gives us a chance to run around and see the soothing sights of Gielinor. In addition to banking up some more herbs, we're also treated with another farming level today, level 39. And after our farming run finishes up, we'll be shifting gears a little bit, working on a few clue scrolls I've had in the bank for too long, starting with 2 beginners. As expected, beginner clue scrolls don't prove too much trouble. The first one's completed in 2 steps. Second one, we have to go do a little Charlie step, which makes us go fish and cook a trout, but not too bad. And it was another quick 2-step clue. Day 98, we're carrying on with the clue scrolls. I always really enjoy doing them, and again, I want to just get them out of the bank. So we're starting off today with the 2 easy clues. We end up having to craft an iron kite shield for this step, which gets us our first easy casket. Ah, Corsair Cove. It's been so long since we were last here. And we have to pick up a few items for this next step as well. And that gives us our second easy casket. Next up, we're moving on to our first medium clue scroll. And when I say our first medium clue scroll, I mean it. We've completed beginners and easies before today, but this is the very first time we're attempting a medium. And we actually managed to get our hands on a medium casket. And we'll go ahead and get started on our second medium clue. We have to get ourselves a new key to get back into the desert camp. Nice easy step. Another one we can get done. And then we're hit with one that requires us to go into the farming guild, and we just don't have the level for it, so we'll move on to try our hard step. But again, quickly blocked. We're blocked behind quest access and can't get past these two entrances into Bergderot quite yet. Our two beginner clue scroll caskets ended up being a little bit underwhelming, but that's okay. Our first easy, nothing too crazy. Oh, that's cool. The Black Shield Heraldic 4. I'm gonna actually use that. Huge style upgrade. Ooh, Amulet of Power. And a quick look at the Week 14 stats, key highlights being the combat stats after Monkey Madness and a couple of herb lore levels. Quick peek at the Week 14 bank, nothing too crazy there. And finally, a look at our upgraded characters, since we've managed to get a few upgrades this week. We're starting out day 99 down in the Taverley Dungeon fighting Chaos Dwarves. We need to get our hands on a Mithril Bar in order to complete an Aid of the Myrique, giving us access to Bergderot, where our next hard clue scroll step is located. Fortunately, I didn't have to spend too much time down here. As you can see, I ended up getting lucky, picked up the Mithril Bar on our third dwarf kill. Oh wow, he already dropped one. That's insanely lucky. With our Mithril Bar secured, we can go meet up with our old pal Veliav to start in aid of the Myrique. We have to help the Myrique freedom fighters secure their new base of operations, and it has to be someplace quiet, so we're headed to check out the sleepy little town of Bergderot. Once we bribe our way through the gate with some food donations, it turns out that there's actually a decent place to set up. We just have to clear out all the rubble inside the basement, which actually takes a really long time. No, I literally spent 5 minutes down here with a pickaxe and a shovel just clearing rubble. But in exchange for setting up here, the villagers just want us to help improve the village a little bit. We help fix up the general store, and then go collect some stock for the general store, which actually requires us to go head over to Catherby to fish up some mackerel. So, now we're doing a detour quest, and some detour fishing within the quest, so we can go back to doing the other detour to finally continue the clue. Yeah, that's going to be a sign for the rest of this week. To start day 100, we're going to go turn in all the supplies we've collected to the shopkeeper. Then we can work on fixing up the bank for the town. Once we recruit a banker, we now have a bank access in the area, and they want us to repair the furnace. No problem. Except, problem. Lighting the furnace ended up alerting Vanstrom Klaus and Gataranx. So he sends some vampire Juvenates and Gataranx down here that we have to take out. With the vampires defeated, we have to help Veliav with two things. First, we have to escort Ivan to Paterdomus Temple. Then we have to find a weapon that can harm the vampires. Step 1, escorting Ivan, takes the form of a simplified version of the Temple Trek minigame. We have to choose a route and end up fighting some vampires along the way. Of course, wasn't anything we couldn't handle. Now that Ivan's safe, we can move on to our second mission. We're able to get some information from Drizel, who gives us access to the temple's secret library. We end up finding Evander Sirges' body and recreating his magical staff. With step 2 sorted, we're able to return to Veliav to complete the quest. We're rewarded with a nice bit of attack, defense, strength, and crafting XP. And now, finally, with access to Bergderot, we can continue on our clue scroll. Oh, he poisoned me. Okay, no big deal. I have anti-poisons in the bank. We can take him out this time, right? Oh, I made it out. Oh, thank gosh. Okay, so I forgot that he could attack with 2 different types of attacks. So I can't just pray against him, I need a bunch of food. Well, you heard it. We need a bunch of food. We keep underestimating these Clue Scroll Guardians, so we have to do a little bit of fishing and cooking. Get our hands on some better food again. Honestly, that's no big deal. We're gonna need to get fishing and cooking up in the very near future anyway, in order to take on Hero's Quest, so that we can finally get back to Recipe for Disaster. And if you haven't, make sure you check out the episode where we took on the first, I think, 5 subquests to RFD. Day 101 started with a little bit more lobster fishing over in Catherby. I decided I might as well just bank up another couple inventories of lobsters. That way we don't have to keep running back here every 2 quests we do. 46 fishing, not bad. That's definitely a step in the right direction. 50 will be better. That'll let us start catching swordfish. 53 would be even better. That'll let us get back to Hero's Quest. Grab a cooking level on our way out on our very last inventory. And then we're gearing up in our very best gear. We've got our very best potions and food in the inventory. And we're headed back to finally defeat this guy. I really didn't think my first arch nemesis on the account was going to be a Saradomin wizard. Oh, I'm so close. Just hopefully my food holds out through this. There we go. There we go. I got him. I got him. And it looks like our next clue scroll step takes us into level 50 wilderness. Not ideal. We end up having to run past a few different things along the way. Of course, none of them very friendly out here in the wilderness. And the next step requires access to Miscellanea. So I guess we're going to be taking on the Fremmenik Trials next. Overall, the Fremmenik Trials is pretty straightforward in premise. We just have to convince 7 of the 12 members of the Fremmenik Council to vote for us to become an honorary member of the community. Olaf the Bard is up first, and his task is pretty simple. We have to get our hands on some golden fleece from Lale the Troll. To do so, we have to convince her to give us, well, some golden fleece in exchange for a pet rock that we end up turning into a soup rock for her, whatever that means. With our enchanted lyre complete, we're able to get back to Olaf's task. We have to perform our original ballad, which secures our first vote. Next up is Manny the Reveler. To convince him, all we have to do is beat him in a drinking competition. The poison cellar down in Sears Village happens to have some alcohol-free beer. We just have to create a distraction so we can swap out the 2 kegs. And then we're able to easily win the drinking competition. And our second vote. Sigly the Huntsman is up next, the 3rd councilman whose vote we're after. His challenge is a little bit different. This one's a combat trial. We have to track down and then defeat the Draugen, a Fremmenik spirit. With the Draugen defeated, we get our vote from Sigly. Next up is Sigmund the Merchant. He sends us on a delightful little rendition of One Small Favor, but fortunately it's all limited just to the settlement of Relica, so we don't have to run too far. We might not have to run too far, but we do have to run around a lot, between a lot of different people. I mean, all of this footage is sped up like 30 times, but we end up getting our 4th vote, so that's all that counts. Next up is Thorvald the Warrior. We have to prove our mettle. To do so, we have to take on Koshi the Deathless. He has 4 different forms of ascending difficulty. You have to defeat the first 3. Unfortunately, I only managed to take out 2 before I ran out of food. Day 103, we're going in with a little bit better preparation this time. I upgraded to lobsters, and it turns out you can bring in a Drammond branch and then craft it in the arena, so I now at least have some type of weapon. The first 3 forms went pretty quickly this time with the extra supplies, but he just absolutely shreds you on that 4th one. Most importantly, it was enough to impress Thorvald, who gives us his vote. Swenson the Navigator is up next. He wants us to prove our sense of direction by completing a maze. This is definitely the easiest task. His name spells the solution to the puzzle, Swенsen. And that's vote 6 out of 7. Our last vote is Pier the Seer. His challenge is meant to test our wit. He turned his entire home into an escape room type series of puzzles that we have to solve. Fortunately, we're just following the quest helper guide to save a little time. There we go, that's our 7th and final vote secured. We can head back to Brunt the Chieftain. Finish up the quest, 2800 XP each in a bunch of skills. We also get our honorary Fremmenik name of Rilton. And finally, with the Fremmenik Trials completed, Miscellanea access secured, we can go ahead and complete our next hard clue step. Unfortunately, I don't think we can continue it though. You guys let me know anything down in the comments if there is anything. I did some research and I could not find any realistic way for us to get our hands on an Amulet of Glory in the near future for that clue step. Knocking out the last few easy achievement diary steps around Lumbridge gets us a nice consolation prize though, 2 Herblore levels from an Ancient Lamp. Then we're headed over to Varrock. We're going to complete the easy diary there as well. Nothing too crazy, just have to do a little rune crafting, a little running around. That's all the easy diary tasks complete. We're rewarded with the ability to get some battle staves every day from Zaf. And then we're moving on to start the Alfred Grimhand's bar crawl. This one's fun. It's one of the most RuneScape feeling activities in the game, just running around and buying different beers from all of the different pubs. At least this time it's our character that gets to have a few drinks. Usually we're giving them to all the NPCs. Day 104, we start out by turning in the now completed bar crawl card. We also get the ability to turn on the auto smasher for vials after we finish a potion. Next up, we're taking on the Scorpion Catcher quest. We have to help Thormak recover his 3 lost scorpions. Somehow, one of them made its way further into the Taverley dungeon than we ever have, so we have to get our hands on a dusty key. Which, I mean, we're going to want to do that at some point anyway. We'll be back to fight these blue dragons and the black demons at some point. But for now, get the Scorpion, we get the one from the Edgeville Monastery, and the one in the Barbarian Outpost. We're rewarded with 6,000 Strength XP, enough to jump us up to level 50. And since it's nearby, we'll squeeze in the Tower of Life quest as well. We have to start out by getting our hands on an entire builder's uniform so we can infiltrate the tower. Apparently, the builders only finished up the actual structure itself. They haven't built any of the internal machines. They're leaving that for us. We're able to just grab the supplies from all the nearby crates, fortunately, and then just click our way through a few easy puzzles. I don't know why we didn't realize something was wrong when they asked us to finish building the giant cage on the top floor. The alchemists end up summoning a homunculus into existence and kind of tormenting it, so we have to put a stop to that. We have to help the homunculus through his existential crisis, and then we can break him out of his jail, scare off the alchemists, and he'll take over the tower. We're rewarded with 2 quest points and some construction XP. Finally, to close out day 104, we're gearing up and heading to go fight Brutus. Level 54 attack there is really our only reward today. No crazy loot from Brutus, but that's alright. It's not like I was expecting to get the pet in this random 15-minute session anyway. Day 105, we're gonna start out with just a little more at Brutus. I was having fun, it's a fun little boss to go through, pretty quick kills, and honestly, I just wanted to round off my attack level to 55. And finally, to close out the week, I decided we were gonna go ahead and complete some clue scrolls that I knew we would actually be able to finish. There's no requirement to get your hands on an Amulet of Glory to finish a beginner clue. I'm definitely gonna have to do a little more research into that. I haven't found a way, but I'm still hoping we're gonna find a way to get our hands on a glory without having to craft and enchant it ourselves. That would take us a ridiculously long time. And with just a few seconds left on day 105, we got our hands on an easy casket. Didn't quite have time to open it, so we'll have to look forward to that for next week. And finally, a quick look at the week 15 stats. Nothing too crazy, but some steady progress across the board. And that's a wrap. 15 weeks, 105 days ago, this account stepped off of Tutorial Island with absolutely nothing. Since then, we've made some big steps. We completed Monkey Madness, we unlocked Fairy Rings, we've made huge progress towards Recipe for Disaster, we finally earned our Rune Scimitar after a ridiculous grind, and somehow, we've survived almost every mistake I've made along the way. And the crazy thing is, we're just getting started. We've still got harder goals coming up, we've got bigger grinds to tackle, and tougher bosses to take on, all under the exact same 1 hour per day restriction. So, if you've made it all the way to the end of this movie and you want to see where the account goes next, I would love to have you along for the ride. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you see all the new videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.